Chapter 1640, Waking Up. Chapter 1640, Waking Up, a fairy-like woman appeared in Long Fei's mind. She floated. Long Fei looked at her and laughed, saying, "I'm sorry, I didn't complete your mission. The most important thing is you can't give up. If you give up on the dragon race, everything you've done for your father would be in vain. Long Fei, cheer up. They aren't dead yet, but their souls have been completely extracted by the Destiny God. As long as we can release their souls, they will come back to life. Long Fei, you haven't lost." Long Fei laughed bitterly. "I'm too tired. I really do feel like I'm resting." He wasn't afraid if the enemy was too strong. However, he was truly afraid that he would lose everything once again. He couldn't bear the pain, and the pain made him tremble. The goddess voice shook and said, "Long Fei, you are a member of the Long family, and you are a member of the dragon race." Long Fei did not speak. He was even a little regretful that he had come to this world. What was the purpose of teleportation? To see the people around him die in pain? If it was like this, he would rather be an ant on Earth for his entire life and be looked down upon by others because he did not want to see the gods marshal continent, the brothers of the great chaos realm, and the women disappear from his side one by one. And now, even sovereigns had attacked. Even if a person's heart is strong, he still has the limit. Long Fei really couldn't take it. The goddess felt Long Fei's negativity, and suddenly her voice turned fierce as she said, "Long Fei, don't tell me you don't want to save them. Do you want to see your brother being bullied and your woman being humiliated? Do you have the heart to watch it all happen? Their souls have been extracted, and the god of fate can still enslave them and make their souls suffer a fate worse than death. Do you want to watch all of this happen?" One question after another. Long Fei's heart trembled every word. They still had a chance. As long as he grew a bit stronger and worked harder, he would still have a chance. At this time, the goddess was silent for a few seconds, then said, "Could it be? Don't you want to save your mother?" In that instant, this sentence seemed to pierce through Long Fei's heart. His eyes suddenly flashed with a sharp light, and he said, "My mother." The goddess said, "Your mother's soul was also extracted by the Destiny God. Don't you want to save her?" Long Fei clenched his fists tightly and roared, "Get out!" Boom! A loud sound echoed out. The inner demon that was trying to take over Long Fei's body was suddenly crushed into powder by a strong force and disappeared from Long Fei's body in a flash. At this moment, Long Fei fell among the of the tower question of God. 8 King Kong had his back facing him and was stubbornly resisting the attacks of Zhan Wushuang and owner of tower question of God. Bang, 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 bang. Ha ha ha. 8 King Kong has become 8 sandbags. Carry. Let's see how much you guys can take. Ha ha ha. Zhan Wushuang and owner of tower question of God frantically attacked, ravaging 8 people. As they attacked with powerful attacks again and again, 8 King Kong didn't even bat an eye. They didn't know why Long Fei would suddenly fall to the ground. However, Long Fei was definitely not someone who had been pulled out of the spirit of fate by the Destiny Goddess. So when they saw the Destiny God in the sky crying miserably, it was obvious that Long Fei had done something. No matter what Long Fei was doing, none of them would allow anyone to harm Long Fei's body. The 8 of them stubbornly withstood all the attacks. Everyone was drenched in blood, but no one dared to take a step back. It was as if they were 8 wooden stakes nailed to the ground. If they didn't die, they wouldn't fall. Ha ha ha. 8 King Kong. 8 great pieces of trash. Your boss Long Fei is already dead. Now there are only 8 dead dogs left. Zhan Wushuang sneered. The power in his hands became even stronger. Owner of Tower Question of God was the same. These 8 people had to be killed. He had to grab hold of this last chance, no matter what happened in Destiny God. He had to show them to the people of Main Temple. while the 8 were receiving their attacks. In another place, on the 100th floor of the Tower Question of God, Xian Yuanlier was also frantically attacking. The sword skills she displayed were even sharper, and there was a power faintly moving from her body. The 100 level of Saint could not take it anymore. Big brother Long Fei, I will be able to break through the God's tower soon, and I will be able to come and find you soon. Big brother Long Fei, you have to wait for Lear. Xian Yuanlier was extremely worried. The current fairyland of Tower Question of God had become quiet. Something big must have happened. She was really worried that something bad would happen to Long Fei. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Zhan Wushuang attacked over and over again while suppressing his teeth to defend himself. His entire body was covered with wounds and fresh blood flowed out. 8 King Kong held hands and formed a circle, protecting Long Fei behind him. 8 King Kong is never afraid. If we don't fall, no one can hurt boss. Come on, come on. Everyone roared. 8 King Kong remained as unmoving as a mountain, stubbornly holding on. At this moment, they had used up all of their energy, and all they had was their bodies to block the attacks from the 2 powerhouses. They just wouldn't let him go. This was their belief. Long Fei gave them life, gave them an exciting world, and they saw Long Fei as their brother, protecting him with all their might. Zhan Wushuang's anger burst out. He could not let go, and in his heart, he was jealous that Long Fei had such a good brother. Even if it meant his death, he would not let him go. This made him extremely jealous. Since you all wish to die before Long Fei, then I shall grant your wish. Zhan Wushuang's aura moved, and the God Shield's energy in his body surged. At this moment, owner of Tower Question of Gods, aura also changed slightly as he grinned and sneered. 8 King Kong, from today onwards. There are no more 8 King Kong in the world. 8 powers. Your road to King Kong will end today. In addition, don't worry, Long Fei will be in the underworld to find you guys soon. Ha ha. Owner of Tower Question of God laughed out wildly, and then a divine light exploded on his fists. All of you die. Rumble, owner of Tower Question of God, and Zhan Wushuang attacked at almost the same time. 8 King Kong held her hand tighter. Both of her eyes were firm and unafraid. They were the same in front of death. They never knew what it meant to be afraid. Bring it on. Come on. Come. One was more brutal than the other. However, they all knew in their hearts that they wouldn't be able to stop him this time. Just as Zhan Wushuang's attack landed, Long Fei's eyes suddenly opened, killing intent surged. Chapter 1641, 10,000 Combo. Owner of Tower Question of God Explosion. Chapter 1641, 10,000 Combo. Owner of Tower Question of God Explosion. His eyes were wide with fury. His killing intent soared. In that instant, Long Fei's body bounced up, and the aura on his body exploded out like a violent tide, forming a powerful air shield. He roared loudly. Die! Boom! The strong wind breathed, one in each hand, blocking the attacks of Zhan Wushuang and the owner of Tower Question of God. Boom! Boom! 2 loud explosions rang out. Long Fei's body faintly sank as his joints exploded. The blood and energy beneath his chest churned, feeling incomparable discomfort. But this kind of physical discomfort was nothing compared to Jojo and the others' deaths. Boss, Long Fei. 8 King Kong's eyes shook, revealing an excited smile. Zhan Wushuang's gaze turned cold, and he sneered. Long Fei, owner of Tower Question of God, also sneered. I thought you were already dead. I didn't think you would still be alive. Being able to kill Long Fei was also a great contribution. He would definitely receive a huge reward from the Destiny God. Huff! Both of them landed not far away, with a leap. They looked at each other and revealed cold and disdainful smiles. And then the two of them attacked at the same time. Their speed was so fast that it was almost impossible to see them clearly. Li Yuanba shouted, "Boss, be careful!" Long Fei stood in his original position, motionlessly, as if he did not react to it. He did not try to defend, as his reaction was too slow, unable to keep up with his speed. Indeed, the owner of Tower Question of God was a super powerhouse who had condensed his own divine spark. Zhan Wushuang was a super powerhouse who had broken through the 100 levels of God's tower. Their cultivations were all above Long Fei. Their speed, reactions, and strength were all much more ferocious than Long Fei's. It was normal for him to not be able to react. However, the feeling he gave others was not that he could not react, but was rather that he did not even bother to react, as though he was anxious to die. "What's wrong, boss?" "Boss, be careful." Long Fei, 8 King Kong, was extremely worried. If possible, they would rush up to Long Fei to help him withstand these two attacks. However, they were now severely injured and could not take any more of the damage. The key was they couldn't even walk. If it weren't for the 8 of them supporting them, they would have already fallen to the ground. Long Fei, "Ha ha ha. Are you scared? What right does a trash like you have to fight with me? Go to hell." Zhan Wushuang roared like thunder. Seeing Long Fei standing in place without moving, the attack in his hands became even sharper. His strength exploded forth. The owner of Tower Question of God also laughed out loud. "Long Fei, I gave you a chance when I first kicked you out of the divine secret world. You dog, you don't know how to cherish it. Rumble, rumble, rumble." Their attacks were suppressed almost instantaneously. Powerful attacks were so overwhelming that even if they didn't die, half of their lives would have been taken. But Long Fei was like a lunatic. He did not try to defend at all. His body sank. Long Fei's eyes turned sinister, his white hair fluttered, and he roared, "Come!" Boom, boom. A heavy blow struck down. Puff! Long Fei spat out a mouthful of blood, but he did not retreat even half a step because behind him was the 8 King Kong, his brother. "Ha ha ha." Trash, owner of Tower Question of God, did not expect Long Fei to not dodge, and could not help but mock him. However, at this moment, Long Fei's body rose up from the ground. "Trash, you bastard!" Boom! A loud explosion resounded, grabbed owner of Tower Question of God by the collar, and bellowed, Your father, have killed the entire, but I'm still not able to kill you? You call me trash? Who the F*** are you?" Anger exploded. Long Fei used him as bait and allowed Zhan Wushuang, an owner of Tower Question of God, to attack him. As long as they don't kill him, then one of them will die. The instant he grabbed onto owner of Tower Question of God's collar, Long Fei's body sank in and fiercely leaped up. Raised onions in the dry land. They flew straight to the heavenly secrets. In the air, Long Fei directly rode on top of owner of Tower Question of God and stared at him like a devil. And he even specially targeted a place. The head. Boom, 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 boom. Fierce storm of attacks unceasingly floated up owner of Tower Question of God's body with damage S. It was extremely terrifying. 3,932 combo. 21832832. 4,982 combo. 6,922 combo. 8,382 combo. From the sky to the ground, there were no gaps between the fists. Every punch contained the full strength of the fist and did not give any chance for survival. At first, owner of Tower Question of God could resist a few more attacks, but at the end, he was like a dead dog, unable to withstand Long Fei's attacks at all. His forehead had ruptured and caved in. Owner of Tower Question of God also shouted loudly, "Shan Wushuang, save me, quickly save me." Too fast. Zhan Wushuang was also a little unable to react. Moreover, there was no way he could save her. How could he save them? Owner of Tower Question of God shouted again, "God of Destiny, save me, save me." The sky did not move, and there was no response. Owner of Tower Question of God was panicking. He did not want to die. He had already become a one-star god, and he did not want to die. Death was too terrifying. He repeatedly begged for mercy. "Longfei, don't kill me. I beg you, don't kill me. Anything you want me to do is fine. I beg you, do not kill me. Don't kill you." Ha ha ha. Why didn't you say don't kill you when you started hurting my bro? Why didn't you tell me not to kill you when you blasted me off the divine secret world? Ha ha ha. Is there something wrong with your head? Rumble. A loud sound echoed out. Owner of Tower Question of God was pressed down by Longfei and smashed to the ground from the sky. A huge pit was formed on the ground, but Longfei still held him down. Owner of Tower Question of God was trembling uncontrollably, trembling in fear. Seated on his body, Longfei's fist did not stop at all as it crazily smashed downwards. 9123rd combo. Boom. Attack 9124. Boom. The chain of attacks still continued. As Longfei's fist descended, the entire fairyland of Tower Question of God trembled, as if he could not withstand Longfei's strength at all. The punch landed on his flesh. His fists were filled with blood. Boom, boom, boom. Owner of Tower Question of God could not say a word. Looking at the last bit of blood on his head, Longfei roared, 100,000 consecutive strikes. Boom! Owner of Tower Question of God's health point became 0. Longfei did not even look at him and stared at Zhan Wushuang. "The next one will be you." Item: System Furnace Grade. None attack, 0 description. This furnace possesses the power of the system and cannot be summoned. Description 2. The power of the furnace can fuse, and evolve everything. Success rate is 2%. Description 3. The higher the item level, the higher the record for success in synthesis. Seeing the description of the system furnace, Longfei started to understand a little. This is a fusion system. Just like the rune synthesis container. As long as we put them into the furnace, we can synthesize new things, but if there's a small risk, then the success rate will depend on luck. Longfei muttered to himself. Looking at the ancient myriad spirit set's flickering red light, Longfei instantly understood. So these were fusion items. Just as Longfei was in a daze, Li Yuanba suddenly shouted out, "Boss, he's escaping." "Flee, Zhan Wushuang. It's better if you escape into the pan." Longfei shook violently and chased after her in an instant. Zhan Wushuang's figure suddenly disappeared, and the energy aura that he had prepared suddenly exploded outwards. In that instant, he pierced through the air, and a ray of red light from the god's shield wrapped around his body to form a powerful defensive formation. At the same time, a wave of Destiny God's attack also struck out. Zhan Wushuang shouted, "Then die!" A furious roar. 10,000 great thunderbolt. With attack and defense, Zhan Wushuang unleashed the power of the god's shield to its limits. Combined with his sudden attack, his speed was even more invulnerable. 8 King Kong's gaze tensed up. He was incomparably worried between his brows, but he did not let out a sound. They now believed in Longfei. Longfei still took a step forward, but Zhan Wushuang, who had suddenly disappeared, did not defend at all, as defense was unnecessary to him right now. What he wanted to do now was to attack. Boom! Destiny God's power suddenly exploded. Boom! He heavily smashed into Longfei's chest, causing his chest to crack. and fresh blood to gush out. Long Fei's internal organs were completely disrupted by the impact, and the amount of blood flowing from his head had almost reached the bottom. However, Long Fei was not afraid. Looking at Zhan Wushuang, who suddenly appeared in midair, he sneered and said, "You're done? Is it my turn now?" "Aha! Ha!" As soon as he finished, Long Fei rushed up against Zhan Wushuang's fist suddenly. The colorful fairy dragon in his body released a huge dragon's roar. The colorful ancient blade pressed down. Crack! The red air shield on Zhan Wushuang's body shattered. In that moment, Long Fei threw it to the side and struck it with his fist. Bam! It heavily smashed into Zhan Wushuang's face. Zhan Wushuang was too fast, but Long Fei's attacks were even faster. The defensive formation released by the god's shield was actually broken. This was something Zhan Wushuang did not expect. He didn't have the time to react to the punch. Uffed! The front teeth fell out, and the blood rushed out of his nose. Bam! Another punch came out, causing Zhan Wushuang to glare at him furiously as he roared out, "Long Fei!" not waiting for him to finish. Bam! Yi Zichen slapped him. "What the fuck?" Long Fei shouted. "Do you like despicable things? You like to mess with lousy? This is the result." Bam! Another punch. "While he's sick, take his life." The divine dragon aura on Long Fei's body firmly pressed against Zhan Wushuang, paying attention to the fluctuations of his aura, not giving him any chances. Moreover, Long Fei's current health point was a little too low, so he was unable to take another strong strike from Zhan Wushuang. Bam! "Chase down your father." "Come on!" Long Fei roared and threw out a punch. "You want to steal my woman? Come!" Bam! "Destroy my Kunlun sect. Come on. Destroy my beast city. Come on. Don't give me any chances to catch my breath." Zhan Wushuang, you didn't think that you would have such a day, right? Every time Long Fei smashed out a fist, he would scream out loud and vent out crazily. All of the brothers died, and all of the women died because of Zhan Wushuang. In just a few seconds, he had already unleashed over 1,000 punches, but Zhan Wushuang was still not in his human form. He looked like a pig head and was in an extremely sorry state. However, the amount of blood on top of Zhan Wushuang's head was still sufficient, so there was no time for him to die yet. Long Fei was also pressing on, not giving him any chance to retaliate. Zhan Wushuang roared angrily as his voice resounded in the air. "Long Fei, don't force this, daddy." Bam! Long Fei punched out again. "So what if I have to force you?" His heart tensed. Could it be that Zhan Wushuang had a trump card? At this time, Long Fei didn't care that much. Punch after punch, whatever tricks he had up his sleeve, Zhan Wushuang was definitely going to die. Because there was still a Xianyuan Li Er among the tower question of God that was waiting for Long Fei to go protect. Xianyuan Li Er was the container that Zhan Wushuang had prepared, so he would definitely not let her get hurt again. This was the only thing that he wanted to do. Ah. Zhan Wushuang was furious. His entire body was scarlet red. The god's shield even erupted with endless power as he shouted out, "Long Fei, you force my hand. Master, come out." Background. Default background color light blue ocean light, yellow clear, green light elegant, red powder aristocratic family, white snow world gray world color. Default black red green blue brown size. Default small medium large double click rolling screen. Slowest, moderately fastest, background. Default background color light blue ocean light, yellow clear, green light elegant, red powder aristocratic family, white snow world gray world color. Default black red green blue brown size. Default small medium large double click rolling screen. Slowest, moderately fastest chapter 1644. Unstoppable chapter 1644. Unstoppable author. A lot of water from the sea returns to the table of contents to join the bookmark. Table of contents, chapter 1644. Unstoppable, an explosion sounded in the air. A power from the gods, shield shot into the sky. Long Fei laughed. Master? Does your Jean clan still have master? I killed them all. The 9 grand elders died. The 9 master were also killed by Long Fei. Jean Wushuang stared at Long Fei and said sinisterly, You will know soon enough. Long Fei, you asked for this yourself, understand? You're courting death. You can't blame me for that. Don't worry, I'll let your 8 King Kong go down and accompany you. I'll let that bitch, Xian Yuan, Li Er go down and accompany you. Ha ha ha. Jean Wushuang laughed wildly. Suddenly, the sky darkened and vortexes appeared one by one. The clouds in the tens of millions of kilometers swirled together, layer after layer, just like the heavenly tribulations summoned by the 8 King Kong. 8 King Kong looked up at the sky. What is this? Li Yuanba said. What a dense chi. 9-story heaven? Could it be that the main temple of the main temple are coming again? Could it be the destiny God again? Everyone began to worry. Long Fei clenched his fists tightly. He could also feel the incomparably thick energy in the whirlpool if it was really the destiny God that descended once again. Then there was nothing he could do, because now the time limit of the Sun Wukong's transformation had disappeared. The original world's gate was tightly shut, so Long Fei could no longer use the slightest bit of his origin power. Without the origin power, Long Fei's current cultivation would not be a match for the destiny god. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Blood trickled from the corner of Jean Wushuang's mouth, but he started to laugh maniacally. Long Fei, just prepare to die. Buzz. With an explosive sound, a spirit body fell from the sky from above the 9-story heaven at the center of the vortex. What's that? The sky spirit shivered. His senses towards a spirit body were the strongest. Suddenly, he thought of the battle house's fitted soul spirit body and shouted, Boss, it's a spirit body. Fitted soul spirit body. Long Fei was startled. Seeing the spirit body that was rapidly falling, a spirit body that comes from above the 9th heaven? That is, Jean Wushuang sneered sinisterly, War ancestor. In the main temple realm, he is the true master of our Jean clan. His sealed spirit body has always been within the god's shield. Long Fei, you forced my hand. I didn't want to say that you forced me to summon the master, but now all of you must die for me. Boom. Jean Wushuang moved his body and roared, Fuse! Master, give it to me. The spirit body retracted and directly entered Jean Wushuang's body. Wung. The aura on Jean Wushuang's body changed once again. The red light that shot up from the god's shield shot into the sky. Jean Wushuang's body had grown a full 2 times larger, and his strength, although it was not as powerful as the destiny god, Long Fei was very sure that this was the power aura of the main temple. At this moment, Long Fei was trapped in a desperate situation once again. Never did he expect that Jean Wushuang actually had such a powerful trump card. What should we do? Long Fei had no other choice. He thought that the power of the colorful fairy dragon would be enough to deal with Jean Wushuang. But now, Jean Wushuang had merged with the spirit body of the master. He had no chance at all. Long Fei was not willing to give up. Recommended book, chapter, catalog, join bookmark tip. Press Ctrl+D to quickly save the current chapter page to your browser favorites. Press Enter, go back to the chapter catalog. Press O to go back to the previous chapter, and press to enter the next chapter. Ha ha ha. Ha ha. Jean Wushuang laughed complacently. Wow, 8 King Kong actually kneels to someone. Ha ha ha. Long Fei, you see that? Your 8 King Kong is like a pitiful bug kneeling in front of me right now. Ha! All of you, kneel down. Zhan Wushuang was furious. Chen Tianfei kneeled down and said, "Use my life in exchange for boss's life." The sky spirit kneeled down. Lin Yuxing kneeled down and use our lives in exchange for your head's life. Dragon subduing, Arhut, Black Knife, Fat Men Chen, Aoya, Zhan Wushuang. We have 8 lives in exchange for one of our bosses. Li Yuanba did not even frown. The only thing he wanted to do now was to let Long Fei live. Zhan Wushuang's cultivation was too strong now. No one was his match. They had already died once, but Long Fei was different. He still had a way to go, and more importantly, he had something else to do. Long Fei was their boss. They were willing to use their lives as bullets for Long Fei, not afraid of death. For Long Fei's sake, he was even more fearless. Zhan Wushuang laughed out wildly. Ha ha ha. I always thought that your 8 King Kong was tough, but who would have thought that you all would also kneel in front of me right now? Ha ha ha. Long Fei, did you see that? Your brother is kneeling before me now. This feeling is too great. Ha ha ha. Long Fei shouted loudly. Yuanba, get up, all of you. Li Yuanba faintly smiled as he looked at Long Fei and said, Boss, we are willing to do anything for you, and we are willing to trade our lives for yours. Even if they did not believe in Zhan Wushuang. However, it was the only thing they could do. Even if their cultivation was exhausted and they were severely injured, they would still be a burden to Long Fei if they survived. This was their choice. Wow. Using one's life in exchange for another is really great, really awesome. Zhan Wushuang looked at the 8 King Kong and laughed sinisterly. Then you guys can go and die now. Li Yuanba said, Zhan Wushuang, let our boss leave this place. We will immediately die. Let him go. Zhan Wushuang glanced at Long Fei and laughed. Sure, you guys go ahead and take a look. It will make me happy. Maybe I will let him leave this place. No. Long Fei roared as he crawled up from the ground. The instant that Long Fei climbed back up. Boom. The pressure of the spirit body on Zhan Wushuang's body exploded, and once again crushed him to the ground, then sneered, Long Fei, just obediently lie on the ground for me. Come on, let me see how many of you will die first. Zhan Wushuang smiled playfully. Li Yuanba's gaze darkened. I'll go first. Finished. The heavenly spirit stood up and looked at Long Fei, then smiled. Boss, I'll be leaving first. Thank you for bringing me out of the underworld. Thank you for taking revenge for me. My entire life is worth it. Her smile was like a flower. There was no trace of fear. In that instant, a palm struck down on his head. At this moment, Long Fei was about to go crazy. No. At this moment, the remnant soul of King Tada suddenly moved. Long Fei was shocked. Starbook? King Titan. Titan slightly said, Master, the gobbledygook is ready. Boom. Long Fei moved, controlling the gobbledygook in his hands. His eyes stared straight at Zhan Wushuang, and he said, If you have moves, then I have too. Let's see if your master is stronger, or my power of the stars. King Titan summoned his gobbledygook. The gobbledygook flipped to the first page. At this moment, the energy of the stars permeated through Long Fei's body, and slowly, Zhan Wushuang's spirit body pressure was blocked and crushed. Long Fei's body was covered with a bit of the light of the stars. Zhan Wushuang was shocked. What is that power? The sky spirit also stopped. 8 King Kong looked at Long Fei. Long Fei's body was lifted up by a burst of star force, floating in the air. Zhan Wushuang disdainfully sneered and said, Pretending to be mysterious. Any kind of power is trash in front of my Zhan clan's ancestor. Get down on the ground. A wave of pressure was released. It was bounced back in an instant. In that instant, the moment Long Fei opened his eyes. The enormous star which he had merged with the gobbledygook appeared in his eyes. The power of the stars. Death Star Bomb. Zhan Wushuang, tremble. Using all his strength, he fiercely exploded outwards, rushing towards Long Fei as he said, "Long Fei, die!" In the nick of time. It arrived in an instant. However, Long Fei stood in place without moving. The instant Zhan Wushuang's attack landed, the Death Star smashed down. Long Fei let out a cold laugh. "You should just lie down, obediently." Boom! A loud explosion resounded. Zhan Wushuang fell to the ground once again, right at his feet. Long Fei looked at him with contempt and laughed coldly. "You're even more crazy than that. The master is amazing, right? The Zhan clan is amazing, right? With the destiny god backing you up, you're pretty amazing, right? Even if 100,000 worlds were to become my enemy, I will still take care of him. In my eyes, you, Zhan Wushuang, are just a small stone." Long Fei's eyes were ferocious. The anger in his heart burst forth as 8 King Kong kneeled. The wounds on their bodies caused Long Fei's heart to burn with fury. Zhan Wushuang had to die. Puff, puff. Zhan Wushuang continuously spat out blood, and the groove on the top of his head quickly ran out. Right now, he was at the end of his rope. The fish on the cutting board. "Come on, come with me again." Long Fei moved. The Death Star disappeared. Zhan Wushuang's body slightly lightened, and he slowly fell to the ground. He began to laugh coldly and said, "Ha ha, ha ha. Long Fei, do you think you can kill me? You think you can kill me? Ha ha ha." Very strange. He was about to run out of health, so how could he not kill him? Brainless or eager to die? It didn't seem like he was courting death. Long Fei's eyes turned sinister. He took a step forward and slashed with his palms. Bam! Zhan Wushuang's body exploded out, but a bright red, minus 213,222, floated above his head. This damage value was enough to instantly kill him, but Zhan Wushuang crawled up from the ground. "Wahahaha! I said that you wouldn't kill me." Zhan Wushuang laughed out loud. "Ha ha! Long Fei, despair. Ha ha! Laughing at your ancestors." Long Fei attacked again. With a flip of his right hand, he summoned his colorful ancient blade and slashed down with his blade, adding the colorful ancient blade's power. Even the war tiger, who had tens of billions of HP, would be instantly killed. Boom. A blade slashed at Zhan Wushuang's body. But Zhan Wushuang did not die. A damaged figure of tens of billions floated above his head. But he did not die. With a sinister and sinister sneer, he said, "Long Fei, I have an immortal body. You'll never be able to kill me. Ha ha ha." Despair. How does it feel? Zhan Wushuang laughed out loud. At this moment, Long Fei's anger rose even more. His mind was in a mess because this was beyond his knowledge. The striking system he possessed was a type of game system. Under any circumstances, there would be a rule: health point would restrict everything, and the person with health point of 0 would die. But now, possessing damage, yet being unable to kill? What was this called? System BUG? Or was it because Zhan Wushuang had some kind of strong power to protect him? The strength of a god's shield? Or was it the protection of the fate of the destiny god? I don't believe it. Long Fei clenched his teeth. Death Star Bomb! Boom! Bang, 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 bang. Zhan Wushuang was once again smashed to the ground, and another super damage figure exploded above his head. But Zhan Wushuang was still fine. Moreover, this time, he did not even vomit blood. Why? Long Fei did not understand. At this moment, in his mind's eye, he thought of the game's countless immortal skills, but this was the real world, not a game. How can this be? What is it? Long Fei heavily roared. Zhan Wushuang laughed out loud and said, "Long Fei, you can't kill me because I feel despair." Ha ha ha. This is the fate transfer power of God of Destiny. Those powers of yours can't harm me at all. Ha ha. Long Fei, you can't kill me. Just accept your fate. Zhan Wushuang laughed wildly with pride. He did not know, but just now, a voice suddenly appeared in his mind, a power appearing in his body. At that time, he suddenly knew that the power of the Destiny God had burst out of his body. At this moment, the tower question of God flashed with a golden light. Xianyuan Li-Er had broken through the 100 levels of God's tower. Chapter 1647, Celestial Sect of Wonders. Chapter 1647, Celestial Sect of Wonders. The divine gate opened wide. A beam of light shot out from the top of the tower question of Goddess Tower. It was the ancient holy battlefield's gate, which had been opened. This also meant that Xianyuan Li-Er had broken through the first 100 levels of God's tower. Upon breaking through the God's Tower S, they would be connected to the entrance of the ancient holy battlefield. This was the rule of the game set by the god. It was just that. What was slightly different from Zhan Wushuang was that Xianyuan Li-Er did not receive any prizes from the divine light. Other than the ancient holy battlefield's gate opening, there was nothing else. This was also being controlled by the Destiny God. He would definitely not allow anyone beside Long Fei to obtain any additional strength. He was aiming at Long Fei. Buzz. 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 The light of the sky shone, imprinting itself onto the entire Chaos Realm. Chaos Realm was in an uproar once again. The ancient holy battlefield's door opened once again. It has only been a few days. Could it be that another person has broken through the tower question of God? This is too unbelievable. Too terrifying. Another genius? Could it be that today's continuous turmoil in the Chaos Realm has something to do with him? Another genius has been born in Chaos Realm. In the future, Powerhouse will definitely have a place in ancient holy battlefield. Ha ha. Many people cheered because someone breaking through the tower question of God meant that there would be another powerhouse that would break through the sky, and their influence would increase by another level, even though they did not know that a lowly powerhouse like the Chaos Realm could only become cannon fodder. But this was a type of hope for them. Tower Question of God, Level 100. Xianyuan Li Air was ecstatic. Tears of excitement gushed out of her eyes. To me, if I am unable to be with the person I love, even if I become a big brother Long Fei, I would not be happy. I'll come look for you, and it would be meaningless. I don't want to enter any ancient holy battlefield. Loudly. I don't want to become a divine level Tower Question of God. I just want to stay with you. What did you become a martial artist for? And breaking what did you level 100 for all these years? That she could leave this just for the sake of Tower Question martial arts supremacy at this moment. Now the opportunity had long ago right in front of you. To Long Fei's as long as you take this step, as the divine light of the firmament enveloped different world, the door of the martial path will be even more vast. The moment Xianyuan don't be stupid. He would be sucked into the level of martial arts by the light of the firmament. Martial artist then dream. She would enter the ancient holy battlefield. Had also been this ferocious she before. Didn't. She wanted to guardian reach some sort of supreme level in her training, and immediately to even create her own world. However, this is your only chance. Those who wanted to compete with holy battlefield, she would still can't give it up because Long Fei was the person she liked. Xianyuan Li Air smiled slightly, laughed very happily, and said, I choose to stay here. However, just at that moment, Zhan Wushuang's spirit body suddenly rushed forward. You can't go anywhere. Follow me into ancient holy battlefield. Chapter 1648, Madness and Madness. Chapter 1648, Madness and Madness Too Fast. Xianyuan Li Air didn't even have time to react. Moreover, right at the moment when Xianyuan Li Air had opened the divine gate of the firmament, Zhan Wushuang was wild with excitement. The opportunity that I have been waiting for has finally arrived. Ha ha ha. Long Fei, do you know why I didn't leave? I was just waiting for Xianyuan Li Air, this perfect container, to mature. Now it's finally time. Zhan Wushuang laughed wildly. He refused to enter the ancient holy battlefield because he was waiting for Xianyuan Li Air to break through the god's tower. That was why he was fighting Long Fei to the death. Now, when the celestial sect of wonders opened, the container of Xianyuan Li Air's power became ripe, and the power in her body also fully matured. This also meant that time was up. Boom. Zhan Wushuang took a step into the sky, instantly flying towards the top of the Tower Question of God, and started laughing excitedly. Ha ha ha. From now on, you and I are from two different worlds. Just when he was feeling proud of himself. Rumble! The Death Star bomb directly smashed him down from midair. Long Fei laughed coldly and said, Did I let you go? Bam! Zhan Wushuang landed on the ground, completely crushed by the Death Star. You know, this Death Star represented a plane. How powerful was the bombardment of a plane? Although it was still a level 0 dimension, it was enough to attack Zhan Wushuang. Zhan Wushuang was smashed onto the ground, although all of the damage had been shifted, and long numbers of damage figures floated above his head. Zhan Wushuang's current body was completely immortal, so he wasn't harmed in the slightest. However, the body didn't die. It did not mean that Long Fei's falling star bomb could not hit him. Boom! When Zhan Wushuang was smashed into the deep pit, the strength of his body fiercely exploded outwards as he let out a loud roar. Long Fei, you dog, stop wasting your strength. You can't kill me. You'll never kill me. Boom! Zhan Wushuang erupted his power, forcefully lifting the Death Star up. His body moved, transforming into a ray of light as he rushed into the horizon. He had to bring Xianyuan Li Air into the ancient holy battlefield. He must use Xianyuan Li Air's tribulation to condense his divine spark, because the power of Xianyuan Li Air's body could help him overcome his tribulation, could make him stronger, and could make the power of his god's shield burst out even more explosively. He had been waiting for this opportunity all his life. He had been waiting from the moment he was born. He definitely couldn't give up now. Just as Zhan Wushuang was about to enter the heavenly divine light, rumble! Death Star Bomb, and once again forcibly smashed Zhan Wushuang down. Bam! Yet another enormous crater, and the entire divine secret world was almost unable to endure it as it continuously ruptured. Why? Why? Long Fei, why did you stop me? You can't stop me. Zhan Wushuang was incomparably anxious and furious in his heart. Regardless of the reason, this was the most important opportunity in his life. He definitely could not let it go. Ah! Zhan Wushuang screamed, and his blood essence stirred. Buzz! The god's shield released a ray of red light, completely enveloping him, and then fiercely rushed forward. Ah! He rushed up to the sky again. Long Fei's eyes turned sinister. I will never let you hurt Lear again. Absolutely not. Boom! Death Star Bomb. With the activation of the star power, the continuous summoning of the Death Star Bombs had an extremely great impact on Long Fei, causing him to overdraw his life. He clenched his teeth and resisted the attack with all his might. He absolutely could not let Zhan Wushuang harm Xianyuan Lier once again. Boss! Boss! Long Fei! 8 King Kongs stood not too far away and watched as Long Fei used up all of the energy on his body, ignoring everything else as he unleashed the Death Star Bomb. The hearts of the 8 of them were incomparably uncomfortable. Brother Yuan Ba, think of a way. If this goes on, the Assembly of Patriarchs will die. I can't take it anymore. He won't be able to withstand such a powerful technique after continuously using it for so long. Even his divine, level physique can't withstand it. Hurry up and think of a solution. The boss won't be able to hold on for much longer. Everyone was extremely anxious. At this moment, hoo. Finally, I'm here. Yan Huang Ancestor gasped for breath, looked at the corpses that fell around him, then looked at Long Fei desperately trying to overdraft his life force. The space between Yan Huang Ancestor's eyebrows shook. I'm still too late. Patriarch! Ancestor, quickly save Boss. If this goes on, Boss won't be able to make it anymore. Li Yuanba was so anxious that smoke was coming out from his head. He truly had no other choice. Now, he couldn't even die for Long Fei. It had to be known that their bitter training for more than a year were all arranged by the Yan Huang Ancestor. They had come into contact with the Yan Huang Ancestor even before Long Fei had. Yan Huang Ancestor looked at Long Fei, who was in midair, and shouted, Long Fei! Boom! The sky exploded. The Death Star Bomb came down. But following Long Fei's overconsumption of power, the power of the bombs that came down from the Death Planet was not as strong as it had been at the start. This time, even the God's Shield's protective shield on Zhan Wushuang's body was not broken. Zhan Wushuang saw a trace of hope. Ha ha! Long Fei, you can't stop me. Ha ha ha! In the air, Zhan Wushuang took a step forward to the horizon. Without waiting for him to rush out and find out how heavy his body was, Long Fei tightly held onto Zhan Wushuang's waist and said sinisterly, Zhan Wushuang, I will never allow you to harm Lear, never. His family had died. Jojo was dead. Lu Luoshi, Qian, and the others are dead. Yang Yu, Nangong Yen, they are all dead. My brother is dead. The dragon ancestor was dead. Xianyuan Li'er was like the last line of defense in his heart. Long Fei and Xianyuan Li'er had only met once. To be honest, she was not as important as Jojo, not as important as and the Long family brothers. However, she was the only one left alive. With so many people dying, Long Fei could no longer protect them, and he was now Xianyuan Li'er's only one. If he still could not protect them, he would definitely not forgive himself. This was the last string of tension in Long Fei's heart. If it were to break, Long Fei would sink into endless pain. Zhan Wushuang went crazy and said, Long Fei, can I beg you? I promise you, I will definitely not find trouble with you again, and let me enter the ancient holy battlefield. Let me in. Long Fei, Zhan Wushuang, was driven mad. Long Fei hugged him tightly, so as to not let him actually enter the vault God's gate. Zhan Wushuang started to attack crazily. Bang, 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 bang. Long Fei spat out a mouthful of blood, firmly holding on without letting go. I will absolutely not let you hurt Lear in the ancient holy battlefield. Absolutely not. Ah, 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 ah. Zhan Wushuang shouted crazily. He was about to go crazy. However, at this moment, Zhan Wushuang's forehead moved. Wang! A spirit body rushed out of his body and directly flew into the divine light. Chapter 1649, Silly Woman. Chapter 1649, Silly Woman, too late. Long Fei could clearly feel the power inside Zhan Wushuang's body suddenly attacking. However, the current Long Fei didn't have any time to react. His body and health point had already reached the brink of death. Helplessly, Long Fei moved his idea: activate the resurrection ring. At this moment, his body fell from the sky. Seeing that he obtained the spirit body and entered the divine light, Long Fei's eyes revealed a look of despair. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. His heart felt like it was being torn apart. He couldn't even protect the last person. This feeling was even worse than killing him. In the void, Zhan Wushuang's spirit body let out an excited roar. Ha ha! Xianyuan Lier, you can't go anywhere. Ha ha! As soon as he finished, the image of Zhan Wushuang's spirit body condensed and directly fell into the space on the 100th floor of the Tower Question of God. Xianyuan Lier looked at the image that Zhan Wushuang's spirit body had slowly formed and said, Zhan Wushuang, whatever I'm going to do has nothing to do with you. You can't stop me right now either. Ha ha ha! Xianyuan Lier, you are the vat my Zhan clan cultivated. You were prepared for me the moment you were born. I am more familiar with you than I am with myself. Zhan Wushuang laughed excitedly. The space between Xianyuan Lier's eyebrows tightened. Zhan Wushuang laughed coldly. Xianyuan Lier, do you want to save Long Fei? While they were talking, Zhan Wushuang unleashed a stream of power as he plummeted down from the skies. Both of his eyes were filled with despair, and his aura was deathly still. Big Brother Long Fei. Xianyuan Lier's heart suddenly tightened. The scene retracted. Zhan Wushuang laughed. Do you want to save Long Fei? Xianyuan Lier had always been within the Tower Question of God, not knowing what was happening outside. Seeing this scene, it was as if her heart was being pierced by needles, and she said, Zhan Wushuang, what do you want to do? I've been tricked. Zhan Wushuang sneered in his heart, but at the same time, he started to hate Long Fei so much. Bitch! He cursed in his heart. He really liked Xianyuan Lier. From the moment he saw her, he had fallen in love with her. However, right now, he had completely sealed off his own emotions. What he wanted now was container. And immediately Zhan Wushuang laughed. It's simple. Follow me into the ancient holy battlefield. Your big brother Long Fei will be released by my Zhan family. Xianyuan Lier asked, Why should I believe you? Zhan Wushuang said, Xianyuan Lier, do you have a choice? You can refuse, but I guarantee that you won't be able to see your big brother Long Fei. At this moment, Xianyuan Lier's tears could not help but gush out. Indeed, she had no choice. She didn't know what was happening outside. She didn't know how Long Fei was doing. However, the thing she was thinking about in her heart was Long Fei. Even if she didn't believe in his words, if she had even a little hope, she would definitely do it. Xianyuan Lier replied solemnly, All right, I promise you. Zhan Wushuang laughed crazily with pride in his heart. At this moment, rumble! With a huge sound, Long Fei landed on the ground. It was also at this time the last resurrection of the resurrection ring started. Long Fei resurrected. The resurrection ring cracked. Under the divine light of the firmament, a spirit body was brought, Xianyuan Lier, into the divine light. Seeing this scene, Long Fei wanted to die. No. However, but Xianyuan Lier couldn't hear it. Chapter 1650, Lousy Not Accepted. Chapter 1650, Lousy Not Accepted. No. Long Fei stood up. With a single step, he rushed into the sky to escape from the divine light. He shouted to Xianyuan Lier, who was immersed in the divine light, Lier, don't. At this moment, Long Fei crazily charged into the divine light. But no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't enter the divine light of the firmament, because he did not break through the tower question of God. Only those who had broken through the tower question of God would be qualified to enter. This was the God's rule of the game. Therefore, this was the first time Zhan Wushuang refused to enter. Boom, boom. Long Fei kept on striking, and his body kept on being bounced back. It was useless no matter how hard he tried, because he was unable to enter into the divine light of the firmament. Seeing Long Fei crazily rushing towards him, Xianyuan Lier's face was full of tears. Standing at the edge of the divine light in the firmament, he placed one of his hands on it, revealed a bland smile, and said, Big brother Long Fei, you must definitely be fine. You must live well. Woo-woo. In his heart, he was also constantly saying, Big brother Long Fei, you have to be good. You have to be good. She felt the same pain. However, Zhan Wushuang smiled and said, See, you promised me to enter ancient holy battlefield. I will immediately get people to let go of Long Fei. Xianyuan Lier, you made a very wise choice. Ha ha ha. Zhan Wushuang, who had gone mad, said complacently, Long Fei, you and I are already people from two different worlds. Once I condense my divine spark, I will definitely let you die. I will definitely avenge the Zhan clan members. Just you wait. Ha ha ha. Boom. With a loud noise, the divine light of the firmament was retracted, and the two of them were sucked into the ancient holy battlefield. In that instant, the entire tower question of God returned to normal. Long Fei's head was bleeding, his eyes glazed over. He would rather die 100 times for what he had suffered today. This pain, he couldn't accept it at all. Why didn't I die? Why? Why didn't I die? Ah! The instant that Long Fei saw the door to the blue dome of heaven close, he used all his strength to rush in, but was instead smashed by a strong wave of energy. Rumble! The ground cracked, and the entire fairyland of Tower Question of God broke apart. other than the gigantic tower question of God that stood unmoving in the air. The rest of the fairyland of Tower Question of God was completely destroyed. The fairyland of Tower Question of God shattered one by one. The last guardian disappeared. Long Fei lay in the middle of the ruins like a dead man, as though he was already numb to it. What was death? What was living? For the past day, Long Fei had suffered a blow as if he had been struck by lightning. He could not take it any longer and trembled. Since she was severely injured, she couldn't control herself and directly rolled into the pit, tightly rolling down. She hugged Long Fei, ignoring the pain in her body, and said, "Long Fei, don't be like this. Don't be like this." Woo-woo. Ao you couldn't help but burst into tears. Long Fei clenched his fists tightly, staring fixedly at the sky as he said, "Scoundrel! How long are you going to torture me for? Your father is unconvinced. I refuse to accept this." Rumble. The sky seemed to have felt Long Fei's fury, and he seemed to have gotten angry as well. The clouds surged, and heavy thunder struck, as though he was responding to Long Fei's fury. Rumble. Not long after, heavy rain began to fall. 8 King Kong guarded by Long Fei's side. Yan Huang ancestor slowly walked down, looked at Long Fei, and said, "Long Fei, all of this is a calamity that you have to go through, a calamity that you cannot escape. Do you remember what your father said? Keep a fearless heart." Long Fei's eyes became lifeless, and he said, "Ancestor, why me? Why am I suffering so much? Why me?" While they were talking, Long Fei's eyes were red. The rain fell into his eyes, and tears flowed down his face along with the rain. He could not tell if it was tears or rain, but he could not tell whether Long Fei was crying. Any pain, any kind of pain would land on Long Fei alone. He was never afraid, but when it fell on the people around him, he could not bear it. In his previous life, he was an orphan who had never even seen his own parents and lived at the bottom of society, but he did not feel any resentment. He had always dreamed of returning to his parents' side one day. He had siblings, grandparents, family members, and a woman who liked him. In his previous life, he didn't have any of these, and the heavens had given him a chance. Let him fight in this alternate world. Even though he knew that these clansmen were not his true relatives, he still cherished them immensely. Yet, he had treated them as his own relatives. Look at himself in front of the Long Fei of this world. He tried his hardest to become stronger because he wanted to protect the people around him. He found himself acting like a bane. The people following him had been through many calamities. These people's deaths were like a thunderbolt, directly pushing Long Fei into the mud and making him unable to get up. Other than Long Fei himself, no one could experience this pain. No one could understand his heart as a transcender. Thus, when the main temple was smashed down by the sovereign, he wanted to die. He wanted to give up because he was too tired. If his death could take everything back, then he would die. Fucking life. Long Fei's heart was bleeding, his fists clenched tightly, his teeth chattering loudly. He watched as bolts of lightning cut through the sky, and suddenly stood up. "I'll see what else you can do about it." 8 King Kong was stunned. "Boss, Li Yuanba said worriedly. Long Fei looked at the Yan Huang ancestor and said, "Ancestor, how can I enter the ancient holy battlefield?" Yan Huang ancestor looked at Long Fei and asked, "You?" Long Fei said, "I'm fine. From today onwards, I will absolutely be fine. I will absolutely not be in a sorry state like I am today. Ancestor, please tell me how I can enter the ancient holy battlefield." Since the ancient holy battlefield was the only place that had changed the laws of 100,000 planes, Then, they were directly wiped out. Yen Huang ancestor glanced at the tower question of God in the distance and said, aside from the divinity, the only way to enter the 100,000 planes of the plane is to break through the God's tower. As soon as he finished, Long Fei turned and looked at Li Yuanba and said, Ancestor, we will leave them to you. He owed 8 King Kong a lot. However, he could not say anything unnecessary and did not want the 8 King Kong to follow him either. He was afraid that he, as the lone star of the heavenly calamity, would harm them. The next step, he wanted to leave alone. Yen Huang ancestor said, Don't worry, the path they are going to take is different from yours. The Yen Huang ancestor had already made arrangements. To be exact, Long Zhanting had already made arrangements for the 8 King Kong. Long Fei turned around and instantly stepped into the midst of the tower question of God. Chapter 1651, Breaking Through God's Tower. Chapter 1651, Breaking Through God's Tower. Han Ba had once said that the ancient holy battlefield was a place that could change the laws of this world. As long as you are strong enough, you can establish the law that belongs to you. Now that the 100,000 planes were in the hands of the main temple, they were supreme and as strong and unshakable as ancient giants standing in the darkness. However, the ancient holy battlefield could change this structure. Want to change? Come on, to the ancient holy battlefield. It was an even wider world, a place that could truly defy the heavens and change fate. A super world where powerhouse gathered and demons flew chaotically. Family, brothers, the soul of a woman was being extracted. Long Fei could only watch. There was nothing he could do. Xianyuan Li Er was forced into ancient holy battlefield by Zhan Wushuang, but the last string in Long Fei's heart was broken. Right now, he only wanted to enter ancient holy battlefield, and he only wanted to stomp this world beneath his feet and main temple beneath him. Rumble, who are you? The tower guardian saint of the tower question of God shouted. Long Fei's eyes turned red, and with a heavy sound he said, Your father. The tower guardian saint's gaze turned sinister. He had never seen such a suicidal tower watcher. He was simply looking for death. Tower question of God, level 100. There is a tower guardian saint on every floor. Their existence is not just lightly obstructed them. They are more like a type of instruction, allowing you to learn more things. Every level of breakthrough had improved. Thus, they were not only the tower guardian saintess, they were also teachers who taught classes. Every single disciple that had entered the God's tower would treat them with utmost respect. When had they ever seen someone like Long Fei, who didn't know what was good for him? Immediately, the tower guarding saint took a step forward and shouted, Let the challenge begin. When had he ever been so insulted? The punch carried waves of killing intent as it sealed Long Fei's entire body. However, the moment he rushed to Long Fei's side, bang! Long Fei punched out violently. A punch pierced through the tower guardian saint's chest, causing him to spurt out a mouthful of blood. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing third floor saint. You have received 100,000 EXP, 100,000 spiritual academy value points, and 10 energy values. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for breaking through the third floor and entering the fourth floor. At this moment, rumble, rumble. The entire tower question of God began to rumble as it shook violently. At this time, Long Fei directly walked to the fourth floor without even looking at the body of the tower saint. The instant he entered the fourth floor, the third floor's God's tower exploded, turning into powder. The entire tower question of God's body fell by 1 floor. Buzz, saint died. The God's tower fell. This is the law of tower question of God S. Just like when Long Fei killed the two saints back then, the two layers of God's tower cracked. This time, too, after entering the fourth floor, the saint glared at Long Fei and said, "Brat, you want to destroy the tower question of God." Long Fei didn't even finish his sentence. He took a step forward. The tower guardian saint shouted, "Come at me! Die!" Bam! His head exploded. The saint stared deadly at Long Fei. Instant kill. Long Fei stomped his foot on the ground and coldly said, "I just want to kill people." Ding! Ding! Two system announcements rang out, and Long Fei stepped into the fifth floor, while the God's Tower in the fourth floor bursted apart. Boom! Boom! Rumble! He went all the way in a berserk manner, killing in the blink of an eye the entire way. No one could stop Long Fei's footsteps. All of them were killed with a single punch, no doubt about it. How could these saints who were guarding the semi-realistic realm defend against his current power? In the blink of an eye, he had reached the 90th floor. Boom! The tower question of God exploded again, and another layer of God's tower ruptured. Long Fei once again stepped onto the higher floor. Below, the tower question of God. Yen Huang Ancestor watched as the golden tower question of God continued to shrink and fall layer after layer. He couldn't help but clench his fists tightly. Li Yuanba scratched his head and asked, "Ancestor, Boss destroyed the tower question of God. Then how do we enter the ancient holy battlefield to find him?" "Yeah, Boss, today in ancient holy battlefield, we want to go in as well. To 8 King Kong. Wherever Long Fei went, they would go. They were Long Fei's 8 King Kong, the 8 great holy generaless. They swore to protect him with their lives." Yen Huang Ancestor muttered, "Long Fei doesn't want you to be injured again." "What do you mean?" the celestial spirit asked. Yen Huang Ancestor laughed bitterly. What happened today dealt him too much of a blow. He put all of the responsibility on himself, and he felt that he was not strong enough, and that he was the lone star of the heavenly calamity. He was afraid that if you all were to stay by his side, you all would also die. So, the reason he destroyed all the tower question of God was because he did not want you to enter the ancient holy battlefield. He wanted to shoulder everything by himself. Yen Huang Ancestor's heart was filled with bitterness. What a foolish child. Li Yuanba was startled, then suddenly reacted. He rushed up to the God's Tower's position and shouted loudly, "Boss, don't abandon me. I want to follow you into ancient holy battlefield." Before he could rush out, he was pulled back by the Yen Huang Ancestor. The Yen Huang Ancestor said, "The God's Tower have already been destroyed. You can't enter." "Then what should we do?" "Boss is alone in the ancient holy battlefield. He has no one to rely on. What if something happens?" Li Yuanba said, anxiously, Long Fei's life was far more important than his own. Even if he was unable to help Long Fei due to his uselessness, Long Fei was still able to use his own life to defend against Long Fei's attacks at critical moments. If they weren't by his side, he wouldn't even be able to do this. This was painful for Li Yuanba. 8 King Kong looked at Yen Huang Ancestor. The Yen Huang Ancestor said, indifferently, "The way you guys go is different from his. He is destined to—" After a pause, the Yen Huang Ancestor did not say the rest. He clenched his fists tightly and replied, "Don't worry, you will meet with Long Fei again. What you need to do now is to unleash your power of taboos and become even more powerful. Only then will you be able to protect Long Fei." Rumble! A loud sound echoed out. While they were speaking, Long Fei had already stepped into the 100th floor. The last level. The 9 raised their heads and looked into the sky. Long Fei also looked up at the sky. The last level. "Jojo, did you feel it?" am one step closer to you. Lear, did you feel it? I'm getting close to you. With two light sounds, Long Fei's gaze darkened. Staring at the St. Presbyter on the 100th floor, he said, "It's your turn." As soon as he finished, the fist in Long Fei's hand suddenly exploded. Boom! A violent, murderous punch. Buzz! The clouds in the sky rolled up, the gate of heaven opened, and the divine light sprinkled down. Chapter 1652. Entering Hell. Chapter 1652. Entering Hell, Long Fei stood on top of the tower and felt the divine light of the firmament falling onto his body. Divine light was a type of sublimation of power. It was a powerful energy infusion for any martial practitioner. However, Long Fei, could not feel any energy fluctuations. Amongst the idea, a huge voice exploded inside Long Fei's mind. Long Fei, even if you break through the tower question of God, you won't be able to obtain any divine power. Ha 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 ha. Destiny God's voice. He could not control Long Fei's fate, but he could control the power of the divine light in the sky. Such a Long Fei could not even be considered cannon fodder when she entered the ancient holy battlefield. The anger in Long Fei's heart surged, but he did not say anything. Destiny God laughed coldly. Long Fei, are you in despair? Ha ha ha. Anyone who breaks through the sovereign's set of tower question of God will be rewarded with the divine light of the firmament. This kind of divine light power is the power that all of you rely on to survive in the ancient holy battlefield. No. Ha ha ha. Does this feel good? This is the result of going against me. I was the one who created the immortal body for Zhan Wushuang. How is it? How does it feel to see your beloved woman be snatched away by another man? Ha ha ha. Destiny God laughed out loud. He was furious in his heart and had nearly died at Long Fei's hands twice. He was still abnormally fearful of Long Fei's sudden burst of strength, and the moment he thought about it, his heart trembled. As long as he had the chance, he would crush Long Fei to death. He must stomp Long Fei into the mud and make him unable to crawl back up. Long Fei looked at the door of divine light that was in the sky and coldly said, "Destiny God, before I find you, it would be best if nothing unexpected happens to you." Destiny God's gaze turned sinister as the corners of his eyes twitched. Long Fei continued, "Because you will die by my hands." As soon as he finished, Long Fei took a step forward and directly flew towards the God Realm sect in the sky. Ah! In the air, the Destiny God roared and shouted heavily, "Long Fei, do you think you have obtained it without the protection of the divine light? Do you think you can survive in ancient holy battlefield? Humph, you won't live more than a day." And then, in the main temple, the Destiny God said to the two Oracle S who were in control of the Vault of Heaven's divine sect, "Get him to an extremely fierce place for me. Devil Island." A Oracle was slightly surprised. Destiny God said, "Yes, Devil Island." The Oracle shivered and said, "God of Destiny, that's not good. According to the rules set by God's rebirth, people from his plane of existence should enter the eastern region." The corners of Destiny God's mouth lifted. His right hand took out 2 crystal-clear beads. "What about now?" The eyes of the two Oracle S released a golden light as they became excited. "Devil Island, Devil Island." And then, when the 2 divine gate envoys moved, the rules of Long Fei's movement suddenly changed after entering the divine gate. The 2 divine gate envoys moved. The rules of his movement after Long Fei entered the divine gate. At the same time, it was also known as a place of exile, a land of despair, because you will never be able to leave the Devil Island in your life, let alone participate in a godly battle to change the situation. Destiny God looked at the direction Long Fei was moving in and laughed coldly. You want to fight me? I won't kill you if I play with you. Ha ha ha. God of Destiny, don't worry. I bet he won't live past 3 days. One of the oracle carefully put away the pearl. This was a pure soul bead that could allow them to cultivate for a whole month. Another oracle said, 3 days? For someone who hasn't even received the divine light protection, let alone 3 days, I estimate that he won't be able to take even a single day. Just you wait. He's going to die soon. Other than the main temple, ancient holy battlefield, was also the king of the plain. This place is vast and limitless, so vast that one cannot imagine it. Most likely no one, aside from the sovereigns, knows how large it is or how many places it has. How many people? Thousands of people enter the ancient holy battlefield every day. Thousands of people die every day. Destiny God colluding with the divine sex envoys to cause a person's death was something that could be ignored. Who would notice? Sovereigns didn't have the time to pay attention to such matters as sesame seeds. Long Fei, exiled, entering the ancient holy battlefield, meant that his path to power would be extremely difficult. Below, the tower question of God. The divine gate of the firmament closed, and the entire God's tower began to collapse. Yan Huang Ancestor looked up into the sky and said lightly, Long Fei, you must remember what your father said to you. All right. Yan Huang Ancestor heaved a heavy sigh and said, It's time to send you all on your way. Li Yuanba said, Ancestor, where are we going? Yan Huang Ancestor smiled and said, Hell. Then he said heavily, The real hell. Huh. Are we going to die again? Arhut was stunned. They had died once in the gods' martial continent, and then were reborn in the death space. Although the death space was not hell, it had the same meaning as hell. Yan Huang Ancestor laughed blandly. God's martial continent is the first time you all died, and this is the second time. The second time? F***CK. Ancestor, do we have a third time and a fourth time? We aren't afraid of death, but we can't die in chaos either. The fat man, Chen said pitifully, very reluctant. Yan Huang Ancestor smiled and said, Your deaths are only the beginning. What he meant was, the road behind you is still very long. I don't know how many times you will have to die. Li Yuanba took a step forward and said, Ancestor, come. As long as you can make me stronger and let me see boss earlier, I won't have a problem dying 10,000 times. He was like a madman. Li Yuanba was just like that. Your brain is always the same. His name was given to him by Long Fei. His life was saved by Long Fei, and everything he had was given to him by Long Fei. His entire life was lived for Long Fei. Very stupid, very naive. But this was him, Li Yuanba. And then, 8 King Kong trembled, looked at Yan Huang Ancestor, and said, Ancestor, let's begin. Yan Huang Ancestor smiled and said, Is everyone ready? The 8 of them nodded heavily. A drop of Yan Huang Ancestor's blood essence condensed, and both of his hands formed a seal. A strange power poured into it, and deeply shouted, Gates of hell, open for me. Buzz. The door to the ghost realm opened in a flash. Li Yuanba took the lead and stepped into the gates of hell. The 7 of them followed him. 8 King Kong's journey to hell began. Once they appeared again, it would be apocalyptic. Chapter 1653, Abnormal System. Chapter 1653, Abnormal System. While Long Fei was on his way to the Devil Island, it was also in that instant when he entered the ancient holy battlefield. The system sounded out. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for entering ancient holy battlefield. Ding! System notification. System update. 2 notifications sounded out, causing Long Fei to be secretly surprised. Once you enter the new plane, the system will automatically update and evolve. What will it evolve into this time? And then Long Fei's mind trembled when he thought of his own chaos realm. He couldn't help but be stupefied. Even his own appearance had changed. He was a completely different person. If it wasn't for the fact that the game system was still there, he would have thought that he had teleported again. Damn! This time, Lousy will definitely not let down his guard. System, if you dare to change Lousy's appearance again, I'll definitely kill you. Long Fei threatened in his heart. He was truly afraid. He was afraid that even if he stood in front of Xianyuan Lier, she wouldn't be able to recognize him. He absolutely could not change his appearance. As for the others, Long Fei did not care, as long as he could kill the monsters and level up. As long as he could kill them and level up, even if the entire world was his enemy, he was not afraid. The system is in my hands, the world is mine. Long Fei's gaze was tightly fixed onto the system update progress bar in his mind. He concentrated and became calm, not daring to have any negligence, as he was worried that he would become a completely different person in the blink of an eye. Half an hour passed. Long Fei was still flying in the air as he muttered in his heart, "How big is this ancient holy battlefield? It's been so long since we've been here." Long Fei did not know that he was sent to an extremely vicious place by the Destiny God, and that he was a place that everyone in the ancient holy battlefield was afraid of. Not even ghosts dared to get close. It was the most brutal place in the ancient holy battlefield. However, the size of the ancient holy battlefield was terrifying. I'm afraid no one other than the God knows how big it is, how many places it has. How many humans were there in the ancient holy battlefield? It was unimaginably plentiful. Thousands of people die every day. At the same time, thousands of people enter the ancient holy battlefield every day, and all of them. Things like the fact that the Destiny God had colluded with the envoys of the Celestial Sect of Wonders to dispatch Long Fei to the Devil Island was naturally not discovered by anyone. People die every day. It was normal for one of them, Long Fei, to die. Who would care? Who cares? Thus, Destiny God was fearless. It's been so long, could it be that it's the doing of the Destiny God again? Long Fei muttered in his heart, and when he thought about the mysterious original world-s that had appeared in his mind, he couldn't help but think of that mysterious original world. When the fist-sized source energy was released, it scared the Destiny God to the point that he peed his pants. How strong was this power? Long Fei had no doubt that if it weren't for the aid of the Sovereign, this kind of origin power would have been able to kill the Destiny God. A fist-sized source energy can kill Destiny God. If I can unleash all of the power from original world, not to mention Destiny God, I can even kill a god with one strike. Long Fei was a little excited in his heart. I must master this mysterious power as soon as possible. This sort of power didn't belong to any of the powers of these 100,000 planes. It was a very special existence. Thinking back to what the colorful fairy dragon and the sleeping beauty had said, the destruction of the dragon race was because of it. Was it because of this source energy? Wait. Long Fei's heart tensed up. Golden cudgel. The idea moved, and immediately checked on the golden cudgel among the space ring. Seeing that the staff was still in Long Fei's heart, he relaxed slightly. Original world was still in this main artifact. If it disappeared, then original world would also be far away from Long Fei. In God's martial continent, it's in dragon coffin mode. You are in the golden cudgel mode in Chaos Realm, but now you are in the ancient holy battlefield. What will your progress be? Long Fei asked himself. He was looking forward to it. However, no matter how it changed, what Long Fei wanted the most was the mysterious original world in its body. Suddenly, buzz. the colorful fairy dragon suddenly let out a dragon's roar and left his body out of Long Fei's control. It floated in the air and said, "Long Fei, you have to walk the road ahead by yourself." "I'm leaving." As soon as he finished, the colorful fairy dragon suddenly disappeared into thin air. It was so fast that Long Fei couldn't react in time, but he seemed to have heard the Sleeping Beauty say something to the Rainbow Dragon God, and couldn't help but ask, "Sister, what did you tell him?" The Sleeping Beauty did not lie and said straightforwardly, "If he follows you, it will only implicate you." Huh. Long Fei's expression froze for a moment, and after being silent for a moment, he said with a wry smile, "That's fine too, since I'm the lone star of the heavenly calamity realm following me. It'll only cause me many calamities. It's good to leave this place." "Right. Sister, if you want to—" Without waiting for Long Fei to finish speaking, the Sleeping Beauty interrupted him and said, "Master, I won't leave." Actually, just now, she was the one who forced the colorful fairy dragon to leave. Because, following the appearance of the colorful fairy dragon and the outbreak of the source of energy, a few forces from another large world were ready to make their move. They had even sent out their powerhouse S to search for the colorful fairy dragon. She wanted the Rainbow Dragon God to confuse their target to give Long Fei more time. However, she did not say this. Following that, Long Fei turned to the remnant soul of the Tai Tin King and said, "Tai Tin King, you can also leave. I will rescind the contract." The remnant soul of the Tai Tin King said, "Master, what do you take my Tai Tin King to be? Our Titan tribe never goes back on our words." "Who? All right." Long Fei said, lightly. Both of them were in his body, so nothing bad should happen to him. Now, he was the only one by Long Fei's side. This was even better. That way, the people around him would not be harmed. The Heaven's Calamity Solitary Star was destined to be lonely for his entire life. If loneliness could protect the safety of the people around him, Long Fei would choose to go down alone. After an unknown period of time, nearly fell asleep after a long while. Suddenly, a notification sounded. Ding. System prompt. System update completed. Whew. Long Fei's heart tensed up. He did not see what the updated system looked like, but rather went to check his own cultivation technique, the contents of his own space ring. Seeing that everything was still there, Long Fei relaxed slightly and said, "Fortunately, everything is still there." He was truly afraid that he would be like a new person, completely naked. He really didn't want to repeat himself. The cultivation technique and spiritual treasure were all there. Long Fei opened the system to check and said, "Let me see what you have updated." When Long Fei saw the new name of the system, he was a little dumbfounded. No one else. What's not good about it? Yet. And it's called the abnormal system? F*CK. I like perverts. Let me see how abnormal you are with this word. Chapter 1654. Devil Island. Chapter 1654. Devil Island, the striking system, had leveled up to become the abnormal system. How abnormal was it? It had to be said that being berserk was very abnormal. Killing a toad would result in the release of a divine rank cultivation technique, and chicken would result in the release of a holy vein. Was there anything more abnormal than this? However, the system upgrade now would definitely be even more abnormal. Otherwise, how could it compare to the meaning of the striking system in the past? System, abnormal system. Description, abnormal value obtained. 100 abnormal points released once. Description 2. Choose all the abnormal cultivation techniques and spiritual treasures you need. The rest of the system hadn't changed much. It was the same as before, leveling up by killing monsters and gaining experience points by killing them. It was the system's berserk transformation into a freak. The only difference was that berserk dropped something. Abnormal was when one evolved on the basis of the stuff one dropped. It was when one went through a powerful metamorphosis. As for to what extent, Long Fei still had no idea. However, seeing the word abnormal, Long Fei couldn't help but become excited in his heart. It definitely won't be bad. Abnormal strength. Ha ha ha. It's pretty good. Ding. Do you want to activate the abnormal system? Activate. Of course it has to be activated. Long Fei didn't hesitate at all. The system update would only become more perfect. The striking system would become an abnormal system, and it would only become stronger. There was no doubt about that. Ding. The abnormal system has been activated. Buzz. A wave of energy unknowingly exploded in Long Fei's mind, and it also quickly enveloped his entire body, causing Long Fei to feel a power he had never felt before. What kind of power is this? Perverted strength? The system was just a support tool. It did not have any power. But now, Long Fei felt a dense power surging into his body. At this moment, ding, activate system furnace. He could not help it and was not controlled by Long Fei. Next, the ancient myriad spirit set flew into the system furnace. The system furnace burst into flames. Long Fei was startled. What the hell? Whoosh! Blood Moon Punch enters the system furnace. Whoosh! The purple gold armor enters the system furnace. Whoosh! At this moment, Long Fei's technique was draining rapidly, and the piles of spirit treasures inside the space ring were disappearing, all of them being absorbed by the system furnace uncontrollably. Damn! Long Fei scolded angrily. System, damn you, are you trying to destroy all of my things again? Your father worked so hard to get that information out. Damn you, can you not do this? Can't you give me a way out? Everything was Long Fei's flesh and blood. To refine all of these things, it would be tantamount to slicing his flesh. Ding! The alchemy technique has disappeared. Ding! The engraving formation has disappeared. Ding! The sky shatter sword has disappeared. One by one, the cultivation techniques disappeared. One by one, the soul treasures disappeared. Long Fei was about to go crazy, but no matter how he cursed, if he could not control himself, the system furnace would be absorbed faster and faster. He did not care about Long Fei at all. A strange flame was emitted from the enormous furnace. These were all the holy artifact that Long Fei had dropped, but they had all turned into ashes now. However, the system kept making noises. Ding! System notification. There is not enough energy to fuse them. Ding! System notification. There is not enough energy to fuse them. Damn you! Are you trying to force me to death? It was also at this time. Rumble! The sky suddenly exploded, causing a blinding white light to appear as Long Fei's body fell onto the ground with a loud bang. Ding! Devil Island has arrived. Chapter 1655. Fury. Chapter 1655. Fury the system furnace was still crazily continuing. The soul treasures in Long Fei's body disappeared one by one. The cultivation technique he cultivated in, whether it was auxiliary method or sacred art, they all disappeared one by one. However, the moment Long Fei landed on the ground, he was not in the mood to care about these things, because a cold sword rested on his neck. There were more than 10 sturdy men around. All of their chi was the aura of God power. As they stared coldly at Long Fei, "Humph, Manor Lord Luo, he's the reinforcements you called?" Ha ha ha. This is the first time I've seen something like this. The leader, a strong man, laughed proudly. Not far behind Long Fei, there was a middle-aged man with blood trickling out from his mouth. Behind him, a large group of commoners knelt. Luo Dongcheng glanced at Long Fei, his eyebrows tightened, and said, "I don't recognize him." Indeed, he really did not know Long Fei. He was also secretly anxious. What was the situation when reinforcements had yet to arrive? The leader coldly looked at Long Fei and said, "Brat, he said he doesn't know you." Long Fei nodded and said, "He's right, I don't know him either." "Ha ha ha. One-on-one, are you guys acting?" Leader sneered, stared at Luo Dongcheng, and said, "Master Luo, stop playing tricks on me. If you cannot hand over the 3 divine spirit pills today, then all of you Luo Heights will die." The brawny man had a savage and cold-blooded look in his eyes. He didn't have the slightest intention of threatening them. As long as he could not hand over the God Spirit Pill, he would kill all. Divine Spirit Pill. The ancient holy battlefield was a type of special cultivation energy, just like spirit stones. It was just that. The Divine Spirit Pills were collected by people, regardless of whether you were a warrior, ordinary people, or even demon beast. All of you could gather the power of the Divine Spirit. If he wanted to condense the power of divinity into a pill, that would be far too difficult. A Divine Spirit Pill required the power of tens of millions of gods to successfully condense. In the entire Luo Heights, more than 600 people could only gather 1 divine pellet a year at most if they did not drink it. 3 of them were needed at once, which Luo Heights couldn't take out at all. Not to mention, the people of Luo Heights also needed the power of gods to cultivate. Luo Dongcheng said, "Lord Chen, our Luo Heights doesn't have 3 divine spirit pills. I can't take them out at all if you really force me." Humph! Although Luo Dongcheng was injured, his aura did not lessen in the slightest. He said in a heavy tone, "Then let's fight to the death and destroy my Luo Heights. I'll drag you into hell as well. If you don't want to accept it, then do it. If you want to kill me, I won't let you go either." Lord Chen's gaze darkened as he said coldly, "Luo Dongcheng, you want to go against my gang of heroes? How about you weigh yourself? Are you qualified?" Hearing the name Gang of Heroes, the commoners behind Luo Dongcheng all trembled. Their eyes revealed fear, as though Gang of Heroes was pressuring them from all directions. Luo Dongcheng's expression also changed slightly as he clenched his fists tightly and said, "If you want to kill everyone, I don't care if you're Gang of Heroes or the Myriad Ghost Gang. You're courting death." As soon as he finished, a brawny man suddenly attacked. Boom! He took a step forward, and the sound of exploding thunder suddenly sounded out. In that instant, he rushed to Luo Dongcheng's front, causing Luo Dongcheng's eyes to turn sinister, his fist striking forward. But he was too late. Just at this moment, the brawny man's speed suddenly changed. He grinned and laughed sinisterly. "Ha ha ha!" Bang, bang! 2 loud explosions rang out. Not far away, 2 heads of over 70-year-olds were beheaded. Blood spurted out from the heads of the 2. Half of their bodies trembled and fell to the ground. Many of the Luo Heights' faces were pale, screaming in fear. "Ha ha ha! Ha ha ha! Ha ha ha!" The dozen or so Gang of Heroes lackeys all started to laugh loudly, seeing everything that was happening before his eyes. The anger in Long Fei's heart was instantly ignited. It was not because they were cruel, but it was because he was thinking about himself, thinking about what happened in Fairyland of Tower Question of God. The people around him couldn't protect him. Luo Dongcheng shouted with bloodshot eyes, "Despicable and shameless, come at me if you dare." "Ha ha ha! Luo Dongcheng, have you forgotten where we are? Devil Island. You can even say it with such a despicable and shameless manner. Ha ha ha! I feel so funny for you." Lord Chen said in disdain, "Devil Island. There were no rules. There are no legal constraints. The only law is the fist. Whoever had the toughest fist would become the king. The so-called despicable, sinister, and cruel were all common things here. No one would sympathize with the weak. They would only look up to the powerhouse. No matter what method you use to become a powerhouse, you will be respected and looked up to. Here, the law of the jungle was displayed even more vividly. Luo Dongqing's teeth chattered loudly as he said, "If you have the guts, come at lousy. Bullying commoners, what kind of nonsense are you? You're courting death." Shua. With another movement, a sturdy man rushed towards Luo Dongqing. In order to prevent him from attacking the commoners behind him again, Luo Dongqing's gaze was tightly locked. However, at this moment, another strong man suddenly attacked. Bang, bang. Ha ha ha. This time, the two children were blasted away. Their bodies were split into pieces in the air. The scene was too horrible to look at, and their flesh and blood fell from the sky. Ener. After a few screams, a woman fainted. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. The people of Gang of Heroes laughed out loud. Their faces were filled with excitement, but there was not the slightest bit of cruelty in their eyes. Instead, it was a kind of pleasure. Luo Dongqing almost went crazy. Long Fei was also raging in his heart. God damn it! He shouted out angrily. In that instant, Lord Chen stared straight at Long Fei. His eyes went cold and sneered in contempt. "Kid, what did you say just now? Who dared to curse Gang of Heroes?" The surroundings went silent, and everyone stared at Long Fei. Long Fei also slowly stood up from the ground. He stared at Lord Chen and said each word. "I said, destroy your entire family." As soon as he finished, the expressions of a few Gang of Heroes lackeys slightly changed. "This kid is dead for sure. He's dead for sure." Lord Chen hates it when people scold him the most. This brat actually scolded his entire family. Even Yama Minamiya can't save him now. The veins on Lord Chen's forehead popped out, his eyes fiercely opening. He stared at Long Fei as if staring at King Kong, and laughed sinisterly. "Brat, you're dead." Boom. His words were like the mark of a judge, directly erasing Long Fei's name. With a step, he punched Long Fei on the head. "Die." Chapter 1656, Blasting Fist. Chapter 1656, Blasting Fist, be careful. Luo Dongqing shouted. However, he did not go forward because in his heart, Long Fei was already a dead person. Even if he went forward, he wouldn't be able to save her. Moreover, he still had to protect the people of the Luo Heights. Just a reminder, Long Fei watched as Lord Chen took a step forward. His aura moved. Power of Blood God. Buzz. System notification. Power of Blood God has disappeared. Evil fire. Ding. System notification. The evil fire has disappeared. Long Fei kept releasing cultivation techniques, but he couldn't release a single skill, and all the skills in his skill bar had disappeared. Destroy the heavens. Ding. Exterminate the heavens. The heck? Not only did the cultivation technique disappear, even the items inside the space ring also disappeared, with the exception of a few special items. Golden cudgel. Ding. System notification. The current player has too little divine power and cannot use it. F*CK my dog. Roared in his heart. Lord Chen's fist was getting closer and closer, and if Long Fei were to be hit by this fist, he would immediately return to his maternal grandma's house. There was no way to block it. What made Long Fei most irritated were the system's incessant notifications. Ding. Insufficient energy, please supplement. Ding. Insufficient energy, please supplement. Ding. Insufficient energy, please supplement. The system furnace kept releasing warning sounds, annoying brushstrokes. F*CK. There's not enough energy. right? Then let's see how much energy this system furnace of yours can withstand. Long Fei roared in his heart, Universal Soul. Bring it on. The Universal Soul was also a fusing item. He was also a special object that had not been absorbed by the system furnace. Long Fei was ready to throw caution to the wind. As long as the system could calm down a bit, it would be fine. Buzz. The Universal Soul rushed into the furnace, causing a ray of light to burst out. Is the energy sufficient now? Long Fei shouted. Now, don't bother me, right? The Universal Soul flew into the midst of the system furnace, and in that instant, the system furnace erupted with a beam of light. Suddenly, ding, a beautiful system beep sounded out. Congratulations to the player, Long Fei, for creating the new skill, Tyrant God Fist. Ding. Do you wish to cultivate it? In that moment, as if the system furnace had exploded due to the burst of energy, it let out an explosive sound. Only an ancient book was left in the cauldron. There were 3 words written on top of the ancient book, Armageddon Fist. Ding. Do you wish to cultivate it? The system beeped once again. Tyrant God Fist. Long Fei's eyes became excited. Cultivate. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for training God's Fist. Long Fei moved, staring at Lord Chen's fist. He immediately threw a punch. Blasting fist. Rumble. Fist to fist. The moment their powers clashed, Lord Chen's right arm completely shattered into powder, and his entire body flew out. At the same time, his mind ruptured. His sea of consciousness crumbled, and the divine spark in his sea of consciousness shattered as well. The God-slaying fist. This was the blasting fist. Bam! With a loud sound, Lord Chun fell into a pool of blood 100 meters away. The amount of blood on his head was 0. Instant kill. Everyone was stunned, they could not react, and stared at Long Fei like he was a monster. At this time, Long Fei's face was full of excitement, and he muttered, "This is F** King Awesome." The system sounded out. Ding! Chapter 1657, Perverted Feelings I Like. Chapter 1657, Perverted Feelings I Like. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Lord Chun for obtaining 100 experience, 10 God power, 1 abnormal value. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Divine Spirit Pills 1 at a time. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Dragon Step. Do you wish to cultivate it? At the same time, the system beeped out a prompt. Ding! Do you want to release metamorphic energy value? The evolution of the abnormal system would result in the system bringing along 100 points of metamorphic energy value. Waves of red light flashed out from the Divine Spirit Pill, and the Dragon Step that floated in Long Fei's mind when the system beep rang. Only these 2 things could use metamorphic energy value. It could only be used on items that had just dropped. Long Fei hesitated for half a second and said, "Let's see how abnormal your system is first. Use abnormal energy. Dragon Step." In that instant, with a shift in energy, the 100 metamorphic energy value disappeared and was released onto the Dragon Step. Then, the red light exploded, and the Dragon Step started to transform rapidly. Immediately, ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Great Perfection Dragon Step. Do you wish to cultivate it? The system beep descended. Long Fei was stupefied. She looked at the Great Perfection stage of the Dragon Step in her mind, unable to recover from it for a long time. This is abnormal energy. Damn! Isn't this too abnormal? What the F***K cultivation techniques were an extremely long process for any martial artist, and it was the same for Long Fei. Although he relied on the proficiency, to cultivate to the great perfection stage would require a large amount of time and mana. In the chaos realm, he had yet to learn any kind of attack techniques to reach the great perfection stage. But now, the energy would instantly carry you and send you flying, and in an instant, you would reach the great perfection realm. How abnormal was this? Too fierce. Huff, huff. Long Fei took a few deep breaths, trying his best to calm the restlessness in his heart. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for training Great Perfection Dragon Step. In the Systems Cultivation Method column, there was an extra cultivation technique. However, the Blasting Fist was not in the Chi Method bar, which surprised Long Fei. Opening the system, he found a special place in the Chi Method bar. Special Cultivation Technique, Skill Path, Blasting Fist Grade, Explosive God Consumption, None Cooldown, 24 hours proficiency, none description, a one-punch kill. Without any explanation, a single punch was enough to kill. There's no proficiency, there's no consumption, there's no level limit. It's just a violent killing with one punch. It's just that. His cooldown time is a bit painful. Long Fei was a little depressed and at the same time excited to the extreme. The combined power of the universal soul was too terrifying. The key was he was a level 1 skill, so how could a newbie who had just entered the game be able to instantly kill a level 100 boss? This is great, Long Fei shouted excitedly. At this time, everyone reacted. All of the people of Gang of Heroes stared straight at Long Fei and shouted, "Who exactly are you? You know who we are?" Long Fei sneered. "I am your father. Who the hell cares who you are? Not a single one of you should think about leaving. All of you must die." No kidding. It was to kill. After entering the ancient holy battlefield, his cultivation technique had disappeared and his spirit treasure had disappeared. Although Long Fei was still at the same level, but too weak, he didn't even have a chance to undergo his tribulation. In this case, it would be impossible to condense a divine spark. However, there were many people like Long Fei who did not condense their divine sparks. A lot of the people had opened up their tower question of God to this plane to avoid the heavenly tribulation. Unless it was the blend FO Godhead, it would still be unable to condense a divine spark. However, the only difference was that one's cultivation base could be raised, no longer restricted by the lower planes. It was not as good as Long Fei being a semi-realistic realm now, but the experience gained from killing the people in the ancient holy battlefield would also help him break through and level up. There was no obstruction at all. If that was the case, how could they not kill him? As soon as Long Fei finished speaking, the expressions of all the people of the Gang of Heroes turned cold, and one of them shouted, "Kid, we are from the Gang of Heroes. If we offend your Gang of Heroes, your ancestors will all die." "Oh, if that's the case, then you can't leave here alive." Shwa! Long Fei's fist sank. In that instant, the bodies of over a dozen of Gang of Heroes' minions trembled in fear. They did not even bother with Lord Chen's corpse and immediately ran out of the Luo Heights, loudly shouting from afar, "Brat, just you wait. Luo Dongqing, you guys wait too." He fled frantically. Long Fei did not chase after them. If they really fought, he might not be a match for more than 10 people. After all, Dragon Step of the Great Complete Realm was not some attack technique, but a type of footwork. Having just entered the ancient holy battlefield, what Long Fei needed to do now was to figure out where he was, how he could enter the battlefield, and how he could change the laws of the world. This was what he wanted to do, just as the people of Gang of Heroes were escaping from the Luo Heights. Not far away. Kill. Kill all these bastards of the Gang of Heroes. Kill them all. The 5 of them rushed out. Not too late, Not too early, just when the gang of Heroes' disciples were escaping from the Luo Heights, these 5 people, he also chuckled. Camel Manor Lord, I'm really sorry for delaying our trip and being late. Fortunately, we were able to make it in time and scared them away. One of them had a vulgar appearance, but an unusually thick face. Luo Dongqing laughed, knowing very well that this employment team that he had paid for had long ago hidden themselves. They were afraid that the gang of heroes would not dare to come out. What's late? Obviously, he doesn't dare to come out. Is this how you do things when you take our money? If this matter were to spread to the mercenary guild, your mercenary group would be disbanded. Let's see who will hire you back. Luo Dongqing did not say it, but that did not mean that the people from the Luo Heights did not know how to say it. That wretched young man did not refute, and laughed. Everyone is here to beg for food. Moreover, when you hired us, you did not say that it was Gang of Heroes. Luo Dongqing said slightly, I will not tell anyone about this matter. You can go. Finished. He ignored them and quickly walked to Long Fei's side. At this moment, the filthy man also walked towards Long Fei. Luo Dongqing said gratefully, Little brother, thank you for your help. Long Fei laughed and said, I'm fine. He did not save Luo Heights. He just felt unhappy in his heart and thought about the scene at the Tower Question of God. Filthy man revealed his yellow teeth and laughed. Big brother, I think you're quite strong. Why don't you join our Sky Tyrant team? Chapter 1658, Beauty Attraction. Chapter 1658, Beauty Attraction. Filthy man looked at Long Fei with his eyes that seemed as vulgar as possible. He then told Long Fei with his eyes, Come, big brother, I'll prepare my chrysanthemum flower for you at any time. Long Fei secretly thought. Luo Dongqing squeezed Filthy Man to the side and said, He is a member of my Luo Heights. Do you dare to steal my people here? Huh. Long Fei was startled. When did you become a member of the Luo Heights? The Filthy Man chuckled. Master Luo, stop boasting. Do you know that I don't understand your Luo Heights? He has nothing to do with your Luo Heights. What's more, even if he's from your Luo Heights, so what if I invite him to join my Heavenly Tyrant Mercenary Squadron? Luo Dongqing also had an angry look on his face as he said, Your Sky Tyrant Mercenary Group? Even a bunch of skin shrimps would not dare to come out in front of Gang of Heroes. At this time, he couldn't care less about giving them face. Luo Dongqing had already known in his heart that they were hiding in the dark because they were afraid of the Gang of Heroes. Right now, he only wanted Long Fei to stay. The power that Long Fei had exploded out was too strong. If Luo Heights could keep Long Fei alive, then Luo Heights' strength would be very strong. The filthy man did not mind what Luo Dongqing said and laughed. Camel Manor Lord, if you offend the Gang of Heroes now, you will only wait for death in your Luo Heights. How about this? All of you Luo Heights S join my Heavenly Tyrant team. Without waiting for Filthy Man to finish speaking, Luo Dongqing immediately said, Pah! Pooey, pooey. Stop spitting. Take a look at my new boots. Filthy Man revealed a pained expression. Suddenly, Filthy Man grabbed at Long Fei's hand. Long Fei's reaction was extremely fast, and practically the instant Filthy Man made his move, he withdrew his hand. His reaction was fast. Filthy Man was startled. The expressions of the 4 people nearby also changed slightly. What a fast reaction. Filthy Man didn't care at all. He pounced and hugged onto Long Fei's thighs and said, Hero, brave warrior, fierce man, come with me. Sigh. It's this move again. Captain, don't you know any other moves? The other team members could not bear to watch any longer. They all turned their heads to the other side, feeling extremely humiliated. However, clearly, they had also been asked to join the Heavenly Tyrant team. Luo Dongqing's eyes trembled. He was stunned for half a second and said, "How can you be so shameless? I've already said that he's a member of my Luo Heights. If you dare touch him again, I won't be polite anymore." Luo Dongqing also did not expect the filthy man to use this move. "Isn't it too shameless?" The filthy man ignored him completely and said, "If you don't promise me, I won't get up. I'll be hanging on your thigh forever." While they were talking, his two eyes looked at Long Fei with a strange light in his eyes, adding on his split hair and his wretched appearance. Long Fei took a quick glance at him. "Oh, your eyes are really stinging." The team members behind Filthy Man acted as if they didn't know him at all. In God's martial continent, in Chaos Realm, Long Fei made many friends. Brothers followed beside him until it was over. In the ancient holy battlefield, his path, he was alone. I don't want to be the same again, because in Long Fei's heart, he was the bane of all. The people around him were always in danger, so he had to walk the path of this world alone. Long Fei's eyes turned cold, and he said, "Let go, I will not join your team." Same thing. Long Fei looked at Luo Dongqing and said, "I will also not join the Luo Heights." Her voice was a little cold, with a deep sense of loneliness. Filthy Man looked at Long Fei and said, "You fierce man, are you trying to force my enlargement stroke?" "Ah!" "Like a flower," Filthy Man shouted, and one of the four members looked at her with a cold gaze, a little unwilling. However, he still walked forward slowly until he was in front of Long Fei and took off his cape, revealing a very pure face. It couldn't be considered a peerless beauty. However, she was still a beauty above average, at least at the level of 85 points. "Seduction of a beauty?" Filthy Man said. "Tough man, our team has benefits. As long as you agree to join my team, I will betroth my sister to you." Huh. "Captain, what do you mean?" Suddenly, the other three members rushed up one after another as if they were going to explode. "Didn't you give the flower to me? Bullsh *T. It's a betrothal gift. You are all latecomers. I was the first one the captain agreed to, and it's mine like this." The trio's faces and necks were red. All of them were enraged. Filthy Man was surprised. He thought in his heart, I messed with you." However, right now he couldn't care so much. The cultivation base Long Fei had displayed was too strong. If he joined, then the mercenaries fighting would probably be able to obtain a good result and enter the top 50 rankings. Still entering the top 20, Filthy Man was overjoyed in his heart and said, "Tough guy, my sister Shui Ling, as long as you agree to join Team Sky Tyrant, he will—" Without waiting for him to finish speaking, Long Fei directly said, "Not interested." A single kill. Moreover, in that instant, Long Fei unleashed the dragon step of great perfection. Instantly, he pulled out his leg and flew 10 meters away from the other party. It was a miraculous speed. It had to be known that this was the ancient holy battlefield, not the Chaos Realm. Long Fei's cultivation was only at the semi-realistic realm, which was equivalent to the lowest realm. But his speed, even Long Fei himself was shocked. He was extremely excited. The steps of the great complete realm is truly strong. Isn't that too awesome? As expected, abnormal energy is much better than berserk energy. I like that abnormal feeling. Indeed, the dragon step was just the most ordinary step for the Devil Island. Most of the disciples in the gang of heroes had already cultivated it. It was the step of a rotten street. However, the transformation of abnormal energy directly reached an unprecedented level of perfection. In an instant, he became intrepid. Filthy Man was stunned, looking at Long Fei, who was more than 10 meters away. He was unable to react. What is that pace? Ru Hua was also shocked. Luo Dongqing, the entire Luo Heights, was also shocked. One of them said, "It's a bit like the Gang of Heroes' Dragon Step." Bullshit. Gang of Heroes' Dragon Step is like this. Wow. Awesome. I'll be depending on you for the rest of my life. Filthy Man's eyes lit up and immediately ran to Long Fei's side like a hungry wolf pouncing on its prey. Long Fei wanted to use Dragon Step to dodge, but he realized that he no longer had any holy power value. The Filthy Man hugged his thigh again. This time it was even tighter. Filthy Man said, "Ferocious Man, just listen to me." Chapter 1659, Level H Mission. Chapter 1659, Level H Mission. He had seen shameless people, but he had never seen such a shameless person. That expression, that tone, was just like a bawd from the spring festival. Moreover, she was in her 50s or 60s, and her body was fat. Anyone who saw her would want to ruthlessly kick her a few times. Long Fei was the same. But just as he was about to kick down, a system beep appeared. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for triggering the quest. Accept the team invitation. Task: accept the invitation. Level: H reward: 100 experience points, 10 god power points. Description: cannot be rejected. System: are you a retard? Even if you are brain damaged, you can't bring me along. Long Fei was truly infuriated. There were no other problems with this mission, but there was one thing that made Long Fei extremely unhappy, and he couldn't be refused. What was this called? Forcefully kidnap him. Too bad. Sigh. Long Fei let out a long sigh and said, "The mosquito leg is also meat. Accept." "All right, I'll agree, but on one condition." Long Fei was helpless. He could not understand why the system would suddenly ask him to get together with such a Filthy Man battle team. What was hidden? There must be a reason. The system would not give out such a quest for no reason. When Filthy Man heard Long Fei nod in agreement, he was so moved that he almost cried. He immediately said, "Let alone a single condition. Even if there were 100, 10,000 wouldn't be a problem." Long Fei said, "Stay away from me." 3 meters away, Filthy Man lifted his hair to reveal his yellow teeth as he giggled and said, "No problem." However, he didn't immediately let go, instead asking, "Fierce Man, you won't run away, right?" He was worried. After all, this was the Devil Island. Reputation is shit here. Long Fei said, "I will keep my word." The system quest had already been completed, so what could he do? Filthy Man immediately stood up and carefully retreated, afraid that Long Fei would suddenly fly away, so he maintained a very careful posture. Luo Dongqing, however, stepped forward and said, "Young hero, they are just a bunch of scammers. What heaven tyrant mercenaries. They're just a bunch of scumbags and liars. It's such a waste for you to follow them. I have a friend in the Evil Gods sect. I can recommend you to the Evil Gods sect. It's definitely better than following them." Luo Dongqing said. He wanted to fight for it one last time. The power that Long Fei had displayed was truly strong. If he could stay in Luo Heights, he would not have to worry about him. Long Fei said, "I've already promised him. I'm sorry." Luo Dongqing let out a long sigh and said, Filthy Man raised up his hair on the other side. Looking extremely pleased, he said, "Now he's a member of my Sky Tyrant Battle Group. If you scam me again, Master Luo, I won't be polite to you anymore." Both of Luo Dongqing's eyes shook as he shouted, "Why don't you try and see for yourself?" Very powerful, the Filthy Man immediately shriveled up and said, I was just saying, don't get angry, don't get angry." And then the other 3 members walked over and said, "Li Rutsao, explain to us clearly, who exactly did you betroth Flower like to?" Yes. Say it clearly. If you are unable to explain yourself today, then I will leave the group. All of them were vicious. However, Filthy Man, Li Rutsao hooked his arm around their shoulders and brought them to the side while muttering a bunch of conspiracy plans. After half a minute, the four of them started laughing out loud together. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha. Captain, you said it yourself. Captain, don't worry. I definitely won't leave the group. Ha ha ha. All right. It took only half a minute to resolve the dispute. Long Fei didn't know what method he used, but the filthy man in front of him was extraordinary. However, his sister Li Ruhua, had a face full of anger. Following that, Li Rutsao said, "Menmeng, let's go. Today, we'll find a large restaurant to help you wash the dust and celebrate our Sky Tyrant battle team's glorious future." He walked to Long Fei's side and whispered, "Tough guy, you just entered the ancient holy battlefield, right?" Long Fei was startled. Even though no one else could see it, he could. Li Rutsao continued, "It's very strange. You don't have any special divine power on you. Could it be that you entered here from the divinity's plane? But that's not right. Your cultivation is only at semi-realistic realm. You cannot reach the standard to enter ancient, holy battlefield in this divinity." For a moment, he didn't understand either. However, he knew one thing: Long Fei was special and powerful. It was enough to know that. For hours later, Yama's city. This is one of the top 10 cities in Devil Island. The reason he was called the King of Hell was because this was Devil Island's first city to the east. A fiend like the King of Hell. Upon stepping into the city, Long Fei saw that the scene inside was similar to that of the ordinary world, with nothing special about it. However, it gave Long Fei a strange feeling, as though countless eyes were staring at him. Li Rutsao said, "It's good that you're used to it. It's been a while since anyone new appears in Devil Island. I will naturally take a closer look at your new face, but you do not have any divine energy undulations on your body. It's good for you." Because the lack of God power signified that Long Fei was a muggle. We're here. Not long after, Li Rutsao stopped at a place called Restaurant, blocking the road, and said, "Big brother, you can order whatever you want." Long Fei's eyes darkened. He laughed bitterly. "This is the legendary restaurant." Just then, one of the employees walked up, laughing and saying, "Mally boy, did you trick a new member again?" With just 6 people, wouldn't you be able to register to participate in the Mercenary Guild's mercenary exam? As soon as he finished, many customers in the surrounding area laughed out loud. Their laughter was filled with mockery. "Wow, your Sky Tyrant team is going to defy the heavens this time. Ha ha ha. We've finally gathered 6 people. How many years has it been?" "Slow guy, you found this muggle from that ravine?" "As long as you all are participating in the Mercenary Guild's assessment, I think you all are participants in the Cannon Fodder War." Ha ha ha. Li Rutsao turned a deaf ear to the mockery coming from around him and said with a face full of laughter, "Just wait and see this year when Sky Tyrant Guild will cause a sensation in the entire ancient holy battlefield." As soon as he finished, the crowd burst into laughter. No one took it to heart. No one looked down on Li Rutsao. Long Fei's gaze was ice cold, without a single ripple. She asked softly, "This is the Devil Island. Then how far is this place from the nearest battlefield?" As soon as he finished, all the customers in the food stall were silent. 3 seconds later, "Ha ha ha, ha ha ha. Brat, you think you can go to the battlefield? Are you dreaming?" "You want to die? You want to die?" A mocking laugh. It was even more intense than mocking at Li Rutsao's participation in the mercenary group. It was as if he had heard a great joke. Long Fei was a little confused. The three members of the Sky Tyrant battle team all had displeased looks on their faces as they muttered to each other, "You've completely lost face." "Exactly. Do you know what this place is?" Li Rutsao began to shiver, then said, "A fierce man, a dream that is not mocked by others, that is not a dream." "What do you mean? Why is entering the battlefield a dream?" Long Fei was a little confused. He had come to the ancient holy battlefield to change the laws of plane and overturn the destiny god. It was said that the ancient holy battlefield was the only place that changed the rules, and now that he had come, he didn't know where the battlefield was. He didn't know that if he were to change the laws, Long Fei was like a headless fly. Li Ruhua said in a low voice, "This is the Devil Island, a land of exile, and also a land of divine abandonment. No one can walk out here, and even more, no one can enter the battlefield. We are all abandoned by God. This is hell, but it's also heaven. In the future, those who enter the battlefield will be mocked by others." Li Ruhua said softly, "Everyone who entered the ancient holy battlefield held dreams of changing the world, and it was the same for the people on the Devil Island. However, dreams were beautiful, and reality was cruel. There was not a single person in the Devil Island's records who could walk out. Furthermore, no one could cross the endless sea and enter the interior. Here, this was the forsaken God land. There are no rules here. This was hell and also heaven." Long Fei's heart tensed up. He involuntarily clenched his fists. The spirit chi on his body continued to burst forth, forming a powerful spirit chi. His killing intent exploded. The anger in his heart raged for 1,000 feet. "Destiny God, I will control your ancestors." No doubt about it. This was the destiny God deliberately bringing him to such a damned place to let him never have a chance to rise again. At this time, the bowls and chopsticks on the table began to tremble, and the air in the food stall began to become turbulent. Countless tables began to shake as if there was an earthquake. Everyone was shocked. What's going on? Damn, what's going on? Was there an earthquake? Many people were panicking. They did not know that this was the intense undulation caused by the chi from Long Fei's body. The fury on his body interweaved with his killing intent and formed a violent vibration. It was also not far away. Sand and dust flew everywhere, and chickens flew and dogs jumped. Black Knight's warrior. It's the Black Knight's warrior. Oh my God, what's behind them? Earth Bear King. Boom, boom. At the same time, Li Rutsao pressed a hand on Long Fei's fist. He looked at Long Fei and shook his head lightly, then said softly, "Fierce man." In that instant, a bizarre force spread out from Li Rutsao's hand. Long Fei's heart inexplicably calmed down, as if a wave of tranquil mind energy had spread throughout his entire body. This kind of feeling was very special. Indeed, Li Rutsao was not an ordinary person. As the aura on Long Fei's body receded, the trembling in the food stall also disappeared. Now, however, no one was concerned about the shock at the roadside stall. Everyone was looking at the Black Knight's warrior who was charging in recklessly from the city gate. No one resented their ruthlessness. There was only reverence, because they are the Black Knight's warrior, one of the top battle squads in the Yama city. It's really the Earth Bear King. They really killed him. How amazing. If only I could also join the Black Knight's warrior. You, don't daydream. Just the fact that you have to join the Black Knight's warrior is already shockingly high, so ordinary people shouldn't even think about it. Many people walked to the sides of the streets to admire the Black Knight's warrior. It was the same for the 3 members of Team Sky Tyrant. However, Li Rutsao was very calm. There were no ripples in his eyes. His gaze was deep and profound, making others look up at him, unable to reach him. Li Ruhua was the same. However, her eyes were not calm, but they held traces of fear. Their bodies trembled slightly. The two siblings' reactions were completely opposite from each other. Bang, bang, bang. The man with the black iron mask, who was in the lead of the Black Knight's warrior, suddenly stopped. He looked at the food stall and sneered. "Quickly, look who it is." All the members of the Knights of Darkness Guild stopped in their tracks and looked in the direction of his gaze. "Humph, is that a human? Why do I look like a dog? Ha ha ha. Let's go meet our friends." The man sat in front of a fully armored demon beast and looked at Li Rutsau's back. He sneered and said, "Li Rutsau." "Not Li Rutsau, but Li Rutsau. He knows our captain? Wow, our captain is that amazing." The three team members were shocked. He immediately walked to the leader of the Black Knight's warrior and bowed as he said, "Master, our captain's name is Li Rutsau." "Li Rutsau." The leader of the Knights of Darkness Guild was startled and then laughed out loud. "Ha ha, ha ha ha. He really is like a blade of grass, and his life is as cheap as grass." The three team members were stunned. The situation didn't seem quite right. The leader of the Knights of Darkness Guild moved slightly. The demon beast took a step forward, and the demon beast's breath landed on Li Rutsau's back. His breath was like flames. Li Rutsau did not move, and said indifferently, "Master, you seem to have recognized the wrong person." "Ha ha ha. You don't even dare to admit your own name?" Iron Mask Knight sneered, then looked at Li Ruhua, his eyes twitching slightly. Li Ruhua's body trembled even more violently. It was as if she knew that the Iron Mask Knight behind her was staring at her. Iron Mask Knight looked at the symbol on the chest of his three team members and sneered, "Yo, you actually registered a mercenary group. Why? You still want to go against us, Dark Knights? Do you want to kill all of us Dark Knights?" Ha ha, ha ha. The surrounding people all began to laugh. How high and mighty was the Black Knight's warrior. Unparalleled. Li Rutsau's team was just a low-level team. They didn't even have the qualifications to compete with the Black Knight's warrior. He could tell that they were mocking the Sky Tyrant battle team. The three of them had ugly expressions on their faces. Their hearts were filled with regret for joining the Sky Tyrant battle team. At this time, Long Fei slightly turned around and looked at Iron Mask Knight and said, "This person who doesn't even dare to show his face, please do not disturb us eating. If you want to eat bones, I will throw him on the ground later." Li Rutsau's gaze tensed up. In that instant, Iron Mask Knight's eyes turned sinister. His killing intent became sinister in an instant, and the surrounding temperature plummeted. Many people couldn't help but retreat from this cold aura. The Iron Mask Knight stared at Long Fei coldly and said, "Do you want to die?" Chapter 1661, Being Even More Savage Than Demon Beast. Chapter 1661, Being Even More Savage Than Demon Beast, one sentence. The killing intent was dense. It instantly crushed everything around it. No one dared to make a sound, and even the breathing of many people was very light. However, Long Fei's eyes slightly raised, stared at Iron Mask Knight, and coldly said, "Do you want to die?" The same words. It was just as cold. But, however, the killing intent in his voice was even stronger than Long Fei's. Iron Mask Knight's gaze tensed up. The eyes of the mount beneath him burned with anger, and its breath immediately turned into flames as its two eyes stared straight at Long Fei. As long as its master gave the order, it would immediately rush over and tear Long Fei apart. The entire street suddenly became silent. Although no voice came out, their hearts were saying, "Is this person crazy? Someone who dares to speak to Black Knight's warrior, like that must be a madman. I'm tired of living. I'm afraid this newbie will be joining soon. You're courting death. No one has ever dared to speak to me like that. The Iron Mask Knight looked at Long Fei, and the demon beast beneath him started to stir, staring at Long Fei fiercely. Iron Mask Knight said, "You are the first. So, you must die." As soon as he finished, Iron Mask Knight's body became light as he said faintly, "He's your dinner for today." Roar. A roar. Streak after streak of sound waves, visible to the naked eye, shot out towards Long Fei. At such a close distance, an instant burst of power, as though it was hard to resist. Li Rutsao's gaze tensed up. He took a step forward, wanting to stop the demon beast, but Long Fei was one step ahead of him. She glared, and her eyes became bloodshot as she roared at the demon beast. "Scram to the side!" Roar. Boom. The killing intent that burst out from Long Fei's body formed a strong vibration. Her eyes glowered. His entire body was emitting an exceptionally vicious and ruthless aura. His entire being was like a fiendish demon. The demon beast immediately withered and revealed a look of fear in its eyes. The savage chi that rushed to Long Fei's side immediately disappeared, and it started growling softly, not daring to look at Long Fei. "Scram!" Long Fei shouted out again. The demon beast seemed to have received an amnesty and frantically escaped. The aura Long Fei was releasing was simply too terrifying for him. Demon beasts were extremely savage existences. They were full of primitive beasts, rampaging and arrogant. Even a top-grade beast mastery would need a lot of energy to conquer a demon beast. To be able to scare a ferocious demon beast like a mouse seeing a cat, no one had ever seen something like this. If one wasn't ruthless, one wouldn't be able to stand steadily. If he wanted to intimidate the demon beast, then he had to be even more ferocious and completely crush it with his imposing manner. Long Fei's cultivation was not high, but the anger he emitted was much stronger than the demon beast, so it was able to crush it. Everyone was shocked. Iron Mask Knight's eyes turned sinister as he clenched his fists so tightly that cracking sounds could be heard. The members of the Black Knight's regiment beside him all stared at Long Fei with killing intent. "Just wanted to eat Long Fei up," Iron Mask Knight said coldly. "You will die definitely." As soon as he finished, Iron Mask Knight punched out with sound waves. The fist wind carried a powerful force. It was extremely sharp, with a dense amount of god power. But Long Fei was not afraid. He'd never been afraid of anyone when it came to brute force. It was just that. Just as he was about to use the dragon step, a figure blocked his path ahead. The same fist wind, the same attack. Chapter 1662. Li Ruhua. Chapter 1662. Li Ruhua, rumble. As the two forces collided, a dull sound rang out. Iron Mask Knight was forced to retreat continuously. The chi and blood below his chest was rolling. Only then was he able to endure, and he was about to spurt out blood. Li Rutsao stood in place without moving and coldly said, "Steel Mask, is that enough?" He called her by her name. The surrounding members of Black Knight's warrior all had gloomy expressions. "Li Ruchao, you must be tired of living. Do you want to die fighting against Big Brother Iron Face? Kill him." Everyone was infuriated. The Iron Mask Knight raised his hand and stopped them. He stared at Li Ruchao and said coldly, "Li Ruchao, I heard that you are preparing to participate in the mercenary group test. I will be waiting for you there. I will crush you. I will crush your entire battle formation. I will let you know the consequences of going against the Dark Knights." As soon as he finished, Iron Mask Knight stared straight at Li Rutsao and then shot an ice-cold look at Long Fei, pointing at Long Fei's nose. He said, "Kid, I'll remember you." Finished, he turned around and left in large strides. Under his robes, a hand gripped his chest, and his face paled. "Big brother, why didn't you make a move?" "That's right. There are so many of us. So why would we be afraid of him?" "Big brother." Iron Face did not explain any further. His gaze darkened as he said, "Return to the residence." After the Knights of Darkness Guild all left, Li Rutsao, who was standing still on the spot, suddenly paled. Blood flowed out of the corner of his mouth, and his body staggered as though he was about to fall down. Li Ruhua quickly supported him and said, "Brother!" Li Rutsao waved his hand and said, "I'm fine." In the previous clash of forces, the internal injuries he had suffered were much more than the iron mask. He had been forced to stand in place, and he had been unable to release his internal energy as he wished. "Damn, I thought you were stronger than the iron mask of the Black Knight's warrior. So it was just an act." Tisk! Everyone burst out in laughter. At this moment, the 3 team members said, "Captain, we still want to live a few more years." "I'm sorry." Finished. Without looking back, the 3 of them ran into the crowd. Li Rutsao couldn't even stop her if she wanted to. She just wanted to shout out, "Wah!" A large mouthful of blood sprayed out. His face became even paler. Li Ruhua's tears started dripping down his face. "Brother! Brother!" Long Fei looked at the 3 people who had disappeared into the crowd and said lightly, "If they're gone, then they're gone. There's no use in keeping these kind of people. How could such a team member fight together? Better off." Li Rutsao revealed a bitter smile and said, "It is indeed useless, but if they leave, our Sky Tyrant Guild will disband." After 3 consecutive years of not being able to participate in the mercenary group's assessment, this year would be the last year. If they still could not participate, then this group would be ranked as unqualified, and it would be cancelled. This was Li Rutsao's hard work. However, it's going to be broken now. Li Rutsao looked at Long Fei and said, "Big brother, you should leave as well. The further away from the Yama city, the better. They won't let you go." When the 3 of them left, coupled with the fact that they offended Black Knight's warrior, there was probably no reason for anyone to join his team. The team was bound to be disbanded, so it would be safer to let Long Fei leave as soon as possible. Long Fei said, "Since I have made my choice, I will not leave." At least for now, he wouldn't leave. He had to figure out how he was going to leave this place and enter the battlefield. Everyone said that the ancient holy battlefield was a place that changed the laws of the world. How was he going to change it? Conquer everything? Dominate the entire ancient holy battlefield? Or something? Right now, Long Fei had no leads. Midnight. Li Ruhua walked into the courtyard in a hurry, the corners of his mouth turning red as though he had been beaten. Long Fei asked, "What's wrong?" Li Ruhua took the spiritual medicine and said, "I'm fine." He entered the room and carefully gave the spirit medicine to Li Ruchao to eat. Li Ruchao's internal injuries were extremely severe, and this little bit of spirit medicine was unable to cure them at all. Long Fei opened the system merchant shop. He realized that the merchant shop was empty, devoid of anything. As the system was upgraded, many things disappeared. The system had also become more concise. Even Long Fei's points were all gone. Even the spirit pellets on the Chaos Realm were useless. They simply could not save Li Ruchao. Long Fei was secretly anxious. At this moment, bam, the courtyard door was kicked open with the back of a foot. The 2 doors flew into the yard with a bang. "Humph! You dare to steal from our blue spirit pavilion? You're courting death. Get the hell out here." A few big men rushed into the yard. Li Ruchao looked at his sister and said, "Ruhua, you..." Li Ruhua said, "As long as I can save you, I don't care what I do." As he spoke, Li Ruhua was about to leave the room. However, it was stopped by Long Fei's hand, and he lightly said, "Leave the matters outside to me." Long Fei walked out of the room and into the courtyard where he looked at the few burly men holding torches and said, "I stole the medicine. Just come and get me if you have anything you need." Humph, a hero saving a beauty, right? Kid, since you're willing to bear the consequences, then you should know. An elder in his 50s said angrily, "To steal from my blue spirit pavilion, you must have cut off your hand. If you did, you must have cut off both of your hands." Instantly, the big-sized man surrounded Long Fei. He brandished his large blade. The broadsword glinted with a cold light. Long Fei slightly smiled. Everyone says that there are no rules in the Devil Island, and the only rule is power. The old man sneered. "What? Do you still want to resist?" Long Fei said, "I don't want to resist, but I want to make a deal with you." The old man shivered. "What kind of deal?" Long Fei asked. "How much is your life worth?" "Kid, what do you mean?" The old man was enraged. Long Fei said, "First, let me ascertain how much your life is worth. Is it worth the spirit medicine money that was stolen just now? If it's worth it, then let's talk about the deal." The old man didn't find Long Fei to make any deals, and said with a slight smile, "I'm in charge of Blue Spirit Pavilion. My life is worth at least 1,000 pieces of golden leaves. So naturally, it's much more expensive than that medicinal herb." "Very good. 1,000 gold leaves, right? I'll consider it the price of a portion of spiritual medicine." Long Fei grinned, then said, "You guys can go. This deal is complete." The ancestor glared at him and said, "Kid, are you messing with me?" Long Fei sneered, "Not really. Just now, if I had acted, you would already be dead. I just spared your life. The transaction would have been completed." "Ha ha ha." The surrounding burly man laughed out loud. "You dog, I just spared your 10 lives. How are we going to settle this debt?" As soon as he finished, Long Fei moved, blasting fist. A punch was thrown out. Chapter 1663. Objectives, Gang of Heroes. Chapter 1663. Objectives, Gang of Heroes. The speed was too fast. There was no way to block it. In that instant, a muffled sound rang out. The man who spoke flew out of the courtyard, not even letting out a scream. However, Long Fei was 100% sure that he was dead. The system sounded out. Long Fei said coldly, "Don't provoke this daddy into a rage." The faces of the surrounding men changed. They were scared to the point that they paled, and their bodies couldn't help but tremble. The speed at which they were moving was something they had never seen before. One of the disciples ran back and said, "Boss, you're dead." As soon as he finished, everyone was shocked. Long Fei smiled blandly. "I've said it before. I spared your life. Do not ever let me make a move again. If not, you will disappear from this world." Explosive punch. Cool down every 24 hours. Exactly 24 hours had passed. Long Fei killed him with a punch, showing no mercy. He had to say it. The blasting fist was in a complete mess. The old man's face darkened. He stared at Long Fei and said, "I admit defeat today. Brat, if we, Qingshan, do not change the flow of green water, next time you won't be so lucky." Immediately, the elder growled, "Let's go." He escaped like a swarm of bees. Long Fei's heart relaxed a little. If they were really going to fight head-on, he would not be their opponent, and with his current cultivation level, he could deal with 1 or 2 one-star experts. But no matter how many there were, he would definitely not be a match for them. The level was too low. His strength was unable to keep up, especially his holy power value. He could only use Dragon Step once. It was too lacking. No way. If this goes on, it'll be hard to get into a mess. I have to think of a way to level up as soon as possible, and also obtain an abnormal amount of points. The only way to become stronger quickly was to upgrade the system. This was the fastest shortcut. Moreover, the same goes for the metamorphic energy value. They had to kill people before they could accumulate enough strength. Long Fei's top priority was to level up. Once a day's worth of blasting fist could not resolve the crisis. It could only enjoy itself once a day. Once its weakness was discovered, it would not be possible to scare it. Following that, Long Fei walked into the room, took out the divine spirit pellet that burst out from Lord Chen's body, and said, "I only have this one thing on me. It should be a bit useful. Wait for me for a few days." Li Ruhua asked, "Where are you going?" Li Rutsao's lips turned white, and she said indifferently, "Let's go, don't come back anymore." Long Fei smiled and said, "Wait for me. Ruhua, stop stealing things. Sell this divine spirit pill tomorrow and buy some more spirit medicine for your brother. I'll be back in at most 3 months or at least half a month." Long Fei said, "I don't know why." These two siblings made Long Fei think of his family members around him. They depend on each other. In order to save her brother, her little sister had risked her life to steal it. Clearly, this was not the first place in the Blue Spirit Pavilion. Even so, she didn't give up. She still stole it because she wanted to save her brother. And Li Ruchao had definitely once had a strong relationship with the Black Knights Guild, probably because of his younger sister. And then again, they must have a mission on them, a special task. Long Fei firmly believed in this. Half an hour later, Long Fei stepped out of the city gate and muttered, "Where are we going to level up?" "Gang of Heroes. Luo Heights. It shouldn't be too far away." Long Fei thought about the few large mountain ranges on the road from Luo Heights to Yama City. Gang of Heroes should be within them. Just knock over the Gang of Heroes. Chapter 1664. Wow, this boss is awesome. Chapter 1664. Wow, this boss is awesome. The sky was dark, and Long Fei stepped into the unknown depths of the mountains. Long Fei continued to advance. After an hour, they had already entered the depths of the forest. At this time, the sky was already beginning to brighten. Roar! Suddenly, with a low roar, a wind wolf suddenly flew out from the bushes and pounced towards Long Fei. Long Fei's reaction was fast. He avoided the sneak attack with the wind under his feet. "Cheap shot! Your father will give my life." A punch flew out. The wind wolf was a type of fast wolf. Its speed was extremely fast. When there was someone that was even faster than it, its advantage would be lost. Dragon stepped great perfection stage. Whether it was speed, identity, or moving trajectory, he had completely crushed the wind wolf. Boom, boom, boom. After a minute, the HP of the wind wolf finally reached its limit. It let out a wail and fell into the pool of blood. It died. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Wind Wolf for obtaining 150 experience, 15 holy power value, 1 energy values. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for leveling up. Current level, 1-star god. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for leveling up. The reward is Blood Drop. Do you want to receive it? Several system beeps sounded in succession. Long Fei could feel a power growing within his body, and he could clearly feel that his strength had changed. After leveling up, his holy power value recovered, his health point recovered. Looking at the leveling reward again, killed in the formless blood droplets. Receive. The drop of blood appeared among Long Fei's space ring. It looked like an iron hat, but if this thing were to cover a person's head and pull, their heads would explode at any moment, appearing exceptionally fierce. Amongst the weapons, The blood droplets were extremely savage. The most important thing was there were no weapons like blood drop in this world. Not only could it be used as a secret weapon, but it could also be used as a weapon. Huff! Long Fei exhaled and said faintly, "No matter where, I will definitely break through. Destiny God, I will definitely make you die without a complete corpse." Long Fei rushed into the mountain forest. Boom! Whoosh! An afterimage flew out, and with a whoosh sound, the drop of blood in Long Fei's hand suddenly covered the demon beast's head, and he fiercely pulled. Crash! The sound of an explosion. The demon beast's head was immediately sliced off. Blood splattered all over the ground. Boom! Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing. Continue. As long as there were demon beasts, one would have experience and level up. This was the abnormal part of the system. Right now, what Long Fei needed was to quickly level up. 3 days later. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for leveling up. Current level, 2-star God. Continue. Hoo. Long Fei panted slightly. His body was covered in blood, and surrounding him were the corpses of demon beasts. He had expended a little of his energy, so 3 days and 3 nights worth of rest were less than 3 hours. Long Fei did not think of stopping, and continued moving forward, heading deeper into the mountain forest. Now that I have 100 points, I have to think of a way to give it a try. These 3 days, Long Fei had killed a lot of demon beasts, but none of them had dropped anything. It was all experience and holy power value. He could not release the blood droplet into his hand, or else he would evolve it. However, in the past 3 days, he had killed a few of the lowest level demon beasts. It was too hard to get anything out of these demon beasts. We need to find a boss. Long Fei muttered. Another 2 days passed. Long Fei's experience had increased yet again, but he still did not manage to find any demon beast that could drop anything. Other than an increase in his experience, he had completely mastered the use of Dragon Step. At dusk, Long Fei walked to a stream and removed the internal organs of a wild deer to clean it. Then he walked back to the cave and built a fire to roast it. Not long after, the burning incense filled the air. Long Fei tore off a piece of grilled meat and slowly chewed it, thinking it would be great if I could have a map of the ancient holy battlefield. At least I know where I am. He's at the position of the battlefield. He still hadn't learned how to change the laws of the world. Both planes. Why can this place change the laws of the world? Unknowingly, Long Fei fell into a deep sleep while leaning on the wall. In his dream, he saw Jojo. He met Nangongyan. He met a disciple of the Long family. Meeting those dragon ancestors, their souls felt as though they were living in a prison of the 18th layer of hell. It was incomparably painful and torturous. Suddenly, a roar pierced the night sky. Long Fei suddenly woke up. He did not notice that the corner of his eyes had started to tear. He hated sleep now. When they slept, they would dream of Jojo and the others being tormented. Shwa! Long Fei crawled out of the cave and quickly ran towards the source of the scream. Hold it back. Quick, delay it. Leijo, quickly do it. Bang, bang, bang. A few muffled sounds rang out, and the battle formation was disrupted. 3 heavily armored warriors were struck and sent flying, and a nearby woman holding a magic staff was instantly sent flying by an air flame spitting out a mouthful of blood. Their equipment, it could only be described with one word. Deluxe. Warrior was heavy armor. The woman in the distance was like a priest. She continuously released a kind of power that superimposed onto the warrior's body, causing their defenses to become stronger. The staff in her hand was also extremely powerful. However, the demon beast they had to face was a little too ferocious. Even if it was 3 heavily armored warriors, they wouldn't be able to deal any strong damage to it. As the 4 of them were sent flying, the 3 heavily armored warriors quickly got up and encircled them once again. This won't do. This guy is too powerful. Our current cultivation is no match for him. Third bro, you withdraw first. The woman got up from the ground and said, "No, we have to kill this guy. We have to get the magic antler above his head." On top of the demon beast's head grew a magic antler, just like a unicorn. However, it was not some unicorn. It was a special kind of spirit beast. This kind of magic antler had a strong medicinal effect. Its energy, he could treat illnesses, and he could cultivate. The trio frowned. A warrior raised his big blade and rushed forward. "I will fight it out with him." Boom. His steps were like the wind, and his blade technique created a deep shadow, layer upon layer. The other 2 warriors immediately shielded themselves as the warrior slashed down. However, a ray of light suddenly flashed out from the magic antler above the head of the demon beast. A ray of light suddenly appeared and penetrated into the void door, causing its body to suddenly disappear. In the darkness, Long Fei was extremely shocked. This boss is awesome. Chapter 1665, The Art of Spiritual Communication. Chapter 1665, The Art of Spiritual Communication. He's making a big move. Late Joe, he's behind you. Too fast. It was so fast that it was creepy, so bizarre that it was completely unimaginable. The magic antler above the head of the demon beast suddenly unleashed its strength. With a flash of light, a line of void door appeared and was directly teleported to the back of Legio. You simply cannot imagine it. At this moment, boom, the demon beast's front paw slapped down heavily. It directly patted of Legio's back. Puffed. The heavy armor on Legio's back cracked, and he spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. "Ninth brother!" The woman shouted, extremely worried. At this time, the demon beast suddenly stood up, looked down at Legio, who was on the ground condescendingly as it turned into a palm and smashed down. The staff in her hand released a ray of light, which wrapped around Legio. The other 2 men followed suit. Crack! The defensive shield broke as the warrior on the left and right could not keep up. Legio, who was on the ground, roared out, Sister Ya, I'm sorry." He was going to die. This demon beast's strength far exceeded their expectations. The 4 of them together were not a match for it. And never in his wildest dreams would he have thought that this demon beast would actually be able to learn the spirit communication technique. In this situation, they had even less hope. "All of you, quickly leave. Hurry up." Legio shouted loudly. "Legio! Ninth brother! Legio!" The 3 of them were sweating profusely, seeing the demon beast's front limbs coming down. Their hearts sank, and they thought to themselves, "This is bad. In this situation, no one could save him." However, at the critical moment, a figure rushed out with a ghostly speed. In the time it took for a spark to fly, a fist struck out. The 4 of them were stunned. Their minds were filled with doubts. This kind of demon beast's defense was extremely strong. Even the divine blades in their hands could not break through it. So the flesh fist was even more impossible. However, a strange scene happened. Blasting fist. Boom. With a loud shout, a fist struck down, and in an instant, the demon beast was blasted away. It flew out a few hundred meters, and the large tree within a few hundred meters was shattered. It was a mess. It was a complete mess. As soon as the boss HP fell, it instantly died. Long Fei was secretly shocked in his heart. Damn, The blasting fist is awesome. Even the boss can be killed with a single punch. Isn't this too sharp? Ha ha ha. The system sounded out, making Long Fei a little nervous. This was the first boss he had encountered in ancient holy battlefield. He was a little excited. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing giant heavenly deer for obtaining 50,000 experience, 5,000 holy power value, and 1 energy values. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining heavenly deer magic antler. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining spirit communication technique. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining heavenly deer's spirit blood. Do you wish to fuse it? Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining heavenly deer horn. The system sounded out continuously. At this moment, Long Fei stared at the spirit communication technique, cultivation technique. Idea moved. Release your metamorphic energy value. Please choose. Spirit communication technique. Void. Ding. Implantation of metamorphic energy value. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining spirit communication technique. Virtual mirror. Ding. Do you wish to cultivate it? Cultivate. Long Fei could not wait. He had clearly seen the instant when Heavenly Deer had released his spirit communication technique. In an instant, it pierced through the void and appeared. If it was used in battle, it would be invincible. However, what was the virtual mirror that was injected with this abnormal energy? Long Fei quickly checked the attributes of the technique, and his entire body froze. Fuck! Do you have to be so abnormal? Do you have to be so abnormal? My darling, Heavenly Deer can only release 1 void door. I can release 10,000 void door. This. Too abnormal. It had to be said that the abnormal attribute was simply too abnormal. It was already abnormal for his spirit communication technique to enter the void, but right now it was magnified 10,000 times, directly becoming 10,000 void door. It was impossible to imagine where it would come from. Awesome. He was about to explode. Long Fei was extremely excited. It was also at this time. The system sounded out yet again. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for leveling up. Current level, 3-star god. A great stroke. At this time, Lei Jiu and the other 3 could not believe what they had just seen. This big guy was killed by a single punch. This. God. It must be a god. That's not right. His cultivation is just from the aura of a 3-star god. He doesn't have the aura of a god at all. The lady, Lanya, however, did not think too much and quickly ran over to the Heavenly Deer's side. She wanted the magic antler, so she could use it to save her father. Lei Jiu crawled up from the ground, looking at Long Fei. His eyes were filled with excitement, and he said extremely emotionally, "Great God, thank you for saving my life." Long Fei waved his hand. "I'm not saving you. I just want to kill it. Just now is a perfect opportunity." Even so, however, Long Fei had indeed saved Lei Jiu. Lei Jiu also understood in his heart. One of the people beside him asked, "You are only a 3-star god. How could you kill that gigantic heavenly deer with a single punch and cultivate a magic antler? This is too unbelievable." Long Fei said indifferently, "I don't know, maybe it just happened to hit its fatal point. Even if he were to hit the death acupuncture point, a single punch would not be able to send a huge beast that weighed tens of thousands of gene flying several hundred meters away. It was impossible for it to possess such powerful strength. They were not fools." However, he could tell that Long Fei did not want to say it. Lei Jiu immediately added, "Great God is naturally extraordinary, no matter what. You are my savior. What is your name?" Long Fei waved his hand, and said, "I was just passing by." And then Long Fei replied, "If there's nothing else, I'll be leaving first." He had a cold look on his face. Lei Jiu was even more respectful in his heart. At this moment, a few hundred meters away, Lanya let out a voice that was trembling a little. The magic antler has disappeared. The magic antler had naturally disappeared because he had been exposed by Long Fei. How could it still be on Heavenly Deer's body? However, even if Magic Antler did not see him, her voice would not have been so shaky. Lei Jiu's mind tightened and immediately asked, "Little sister Ya, what's wrong?" "Ha ha, ha ha." One of them was extremely tall and sturdy, fully 3 meters tall, and fat like a giant. With one hand, he pinched Lanya's back and slowly walked out of the darkness, sneering sinisterly, "Hunting spirit beasts in my gang of heroes' territory. Don't you know where this place is?" As soon as he finished, the surrounding forest was densely packed with Gang of Heroes disciples surrounding Long Fei and the others. The giant bellowed, "Hand over the magic antler." You're tuning in to the Mystic Fist YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.